Chapter 201. Conspiracy to Nine-Tailed Beasts. The light of the incandescent lamp makes the dark laboratory become no longer so gloomy. The neat experimental equipment on the experimental bench is also not the same as in the past. Gong Yi carefully observed a piece of meat below through a microscope. Well, no wonder why the Hokage has microscopes. After all, there were petri dishes before, and Orochimaru labs also had computers and surveillance equipment. Especially in Akatsuki, Pain Six Paths usually sleep in a dormant chamber. That thing is simply science fiction. The gray chunks of meat were more like bark than meat. This is the piece of Geto Mazo, demonic statue of the outer path, that Gong Yi cut with a golden dung under the attack of Uchiha Madara's Geto Mazo, demonic statue of the outer path. Geto Mazo, demonic statue of the outer path, is also the body of Ten Tails. According to legend, Ten Tails are transformed by the divine tree, so they can have endless chakra. Later, the Six Paths Immortal sealed it in the body and became the first, 3220. Ten Tails Jinchuriki Column Force. When the Six Paths Fairy is about to die, draw out that endless chakra and divide it into nine-tailed beasts. And the body of Ten Tails was sealed on the moon by him. Gong Yi fiddled with the 10 tails, frowning tightly. As for this thing, after he got it, he has been researching it for almost 2 years. So far, there has not been much progress. The actionable 10 tails body should belong to cellular life. But it is also the body of the divine tree, and it is transformed into a wooden color and stripes. According to Uchiha Madara and Akatsuki's vision, channel the 10 tails body, capture the 9-tailed beast, and seal it inside. 10 tails can be resurrected to realize the Moon Eye project and release infinite Tsukuyomi to the whole world. The Eye of the Moon plan, I don't care. I would like to know more. If 10 tails body can hold 9-tailed beast chakras, then how many pieces of meat he can hold? Tailed beast chakra. Yes. What Gong Yi is researching is a knockoff version, or a smaller version of 10 tails. Now Gong Yi's strength has actually reached a short-term bottleneck. He has Sage Mode, which can greatly enhance the power of ninjutsu, taijutsu and even demonic illusion. Under this, there are Kekkei Genkei Jin-dun with infinite possibilities. As long as the chakra is sufficient and under the constant master, the upper limit of Jin-dun is absolutely no worse than Mokuden wood style. It even implies the principle of mutual restraint. Jin-dun subordination theory from the above, it can restrain Mokuden wood style. In addition, Gong Yi also has Hashirama cells that continue to fuse, and the body becomes stronger with time, until one day, it can open the 8-door state. However, the latter too. It takes time, and the chakra needed by Jin-dun depends on the latter too. His most powerful attack methods now are Sage Mode and immature Jin-dun ninjutsu. That is to say, if Gong Yi wants to go further, he can only find another way. Then besides Sage Mode, Kekkei Genkei, Hashirama cells, the 8 inner gates, what else is there in the ninja world that can create miracles and have infinite possibly a tailed beast? Human Jinchuriki column power. When Gong Yi's strength was low, he never dared to think about it. It has enough strength to plan these things. For example, Sanwei has proposed before that he wants Gong Yi to become Jinchuriki column force for its people. But Gong Yi doesn't look down on the strength of the 3 tails, and his bonus is limited, but it is easy to attract Akatsuki's coveted 3 tails can't work. And other tailed beasts, Gong Yi, don't take it seriously. The only ones he favors are probably Yahweh and Kyubi, 9 tails. However, Yahweh is close to Killer Bee, and Kyubi, 9 tails, is sealed with Yin chakra by Namikaze Minato, which belongs to an incomplete state. Gong Yi also gave up the idea of these 2-tailed orcs Jinchuriki column force. In addition to 9-tailed beasts, there is actually another type of tailed beast that can make him a human Jinchuriki column force, even stronger than the 9-tailed orcs Jinchuriki column force. 10 tails. 10 tails human Jinchuriki column force. 6 paths immortal, 6 paths Obito, 6 paths Madara, these three are all 10 tails people Jinchuriki column power. Under them, there is Uzumaki Naruto who can mobilize the power of the 9-tailed beasts, but does not have Geto Mazo demonic statue of the outer path. Naruto can be regarded as a small 10 tails Jinchuriki column force, but his strength is not complete, and he needs to cooperate with Sasuke. What Gong Yi envisioned was actually not complicated. With his current strength, he has the opportunity to control the 9-tailed beast chakra like Naruto. If he can make good use of this piece of Geto Mazo demonic statue of the outer path, his power level, in fact, has reached the level of 6 paths immortal and 6 paths Madara. Amount may be insufficient, but the level is definitely the same. Gong Yi has vaguely grasped the power essence of this world. Ordinary chakra, on top of this is Kekkei Genkei. Blood following elimination is a special product and is not included in the scope of consideration. Then the energy of the same level as Kekkei Genkei is Sage Art Chakra and Tailed Beast Chakra. However, Kekkei Genkei is restricted by the human body, and the amount is small. So it often seems that it is not as good as the latter two. After all, each type of Tailed Beast Chakra is massive and has huge destructiveness. Sage Art Chakra has infinite uses, but it is also time-limited. Gong Yi's Yin Seal seems to have infinite storage, but it actually has an upper limit, and it will shorten the lifespan of his cells. And on top of all this, the third level, the power of 6 paths. Gong Yi stopped the movement of his hands, and his eyes gleamed with thought. Perhaps Geto Mazo, demonic statue of the outer path, has only pure vitality, and a powerful body. Be changed after contact with the tailed beast chakra. The perfect Geto Mazo, demonic statue of the outer path, in order not to cause disorder, must be sealed one by one from the first tail to the QB, 9 tails. Then the way I want to go, it doesn't have to be this way. Da da da. The footsteps sounded, and Gong Ling walked in. Gong Yi nodded to her. After having Gong Ling, although it was troublesome to teach her things at first, but after she got acquainted with it, she could also provide some help to herself. For example, this neat and tidy laboratory is Gong Ling's finished masterpiece. Gong Ling wanted to come over, but after approaching less than 2 meters, she subconsciously stopped. Gong Yi followed her gaze, and the thing she was afraid of was actually that piece of 10 tails meat. Gong Ling, you are afraid of it. Gong Ling bit her lip and said in confusion, I don't know, it's just that my subconscious mind told me not to approach that thing. As a 3-tailed Jinchuriki column force, you should be able to feel the 10 tails meet. Gong Yi guessed, big one. 6 probably the 9 big-tailed beasts were all separated from 10 tails, and accumulated over time, they have their own consciousness. Don't want to go back to 10 tails again. Are afraid of the smell of 10 tails meat. It should not be called fear, but disgust. Gong Yi nodded, you go out first. Gong Yi's eyes flickered as he watched Gong Ling's back leaving. The 3 tails are already in my hands, and I can draw the 3 tails chakra at any time. Maybe, I should start the chakra of the other 8-tailed beasts. If anyone knows, Gong Yi has already begun to plot strategic weapons in various villages, tailed beasts, and Jinchuriki column forces. It is estimated that they already want to kill Gong Yi in the cradle immediately. It's just a pity that no one knows. And Gong Yi's opportunity is also coming with a slow, but undeniable attitude. Time. War. Chapter 202. War and Peace. It has been a whole year since the QB, 9 Tails, rebellion in October 1948. Half a year after the Konoha QB, 9 Tails, rebellion, the village of Kurigakure began ambushing Konoha ninjas, conducting assassinations, and stealing intelligence. In the second half of the year, this kind of behavior became more and more rampant. Therefore, the two sides are in the buffer zone in the middle, and the friction becomes more and more intense. When the 50th year of Konoha arrives, the war is about to break out. Dispatch of the 3 generations of Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen, led by the Akamichi clan, the Nara clan, and the Yamanaka clan, led 3,000 ninja troops and began to increase troops to the border. who shined in the last war, and his assistants are Akamichi Choza and Yamanaka Inoichi. The name Ino, Shika, Cho has become the mainstay of Konoha after Sanin left. Gongyi stood outside the office to avoid suspicion, but with his divine sense, he could hear some words inside. Kakashi, this trip starts with you. Uchiha Shisui is the vice captain and is allowed to act alone if necessary. Azuki Yugao, towards 29 Kuroto, you two are new members of Anbu. In the mission, everything is headed by Kakashi's orders. Your mission is very important. Assist the Ino Shika Cho unit and intercept the Kurigakure intelligence unit. If you have the opportunity, you can also sneak into Kurigakure and bring back the specific situation in the village of Kurigakure. When the 4x4 team came out of the office, they saw Gongyi and were obviously stunned for a moment. Only Uchiha Shisui seemed to have known it for a long time, and naturally saluted Gongyi. Hello, Dean Gongyi. Gongyi hummed, his eyes swept over the four of them, and he smiled slightly. Let's go on a mission. I wish you all the best and a safe return. Kakashi nodded and went downstairs first. Asakurato looked at Gongyi curiously and left behind Kakashi. Azuki Yugao seemed to have something to say, but while wearing a mask, Gongyi had already entered the office. I don't know, does he know it's me? After entering the office, Gongyi greeted Sarutobi Hiruzen and sat by the window. With his current status and strength, in the village, he faintly felt like the first person under Hokage. And in the eyes of many people, Gongyi who can directly suppress Kyuubi, Ninetales even if it is Kyuubi, Ninetales who is controlled by others, Gongyi's strength is definitely above the 3 generations of Hokage. If it wasn't for him being young, Gongyi would think so. These old guys, they all have things under their belts. If they are in a hurry, they may take you to hell with them. He is still very afraid of Sarutobi Hiruzen. Not the many ninjutsu skills of the Sarutobi Hiruzen master. What he fears is to seal the ghouls. This thing, Namikaze Minato can use to seal Kyuubi, Ninetales. Sealed in the belly of the god of death. According to Sarutobi Hiruzen's record, he later used the corpse, even if he was old enough to have only half of his strength. Also took away Impure World Reincarnation, the 2nd generation, and the Orochimaru one. Gongyi lined himself up, with his current strength, against the 1st generation, 2nd generation, and Orochimaru from Impure World Reincarnation. Shouldn't die, and it can even speed up the snake pill. But the ghouls are sealed, it's not. It depends on your strength. He is completely in the state of the caster. If he does too much now, he will annoy Sarutobi Hiruzen. The consequences. Sigh, the current state of the village. If they gave us a little more time, that would be fine. Sarutobi Hiruzen sighed helplessly, and the years of fighting had worn him down as a ninja, and he lost his temper. Gongyi shook his head sullenly, the enemy will not give us time to rest. The current situation, more and more, is not good for Konoha. Originally, the village had not yet recovered from the Third World War and the Kyuubi, Ninetales upheaval, and the village of Kurigakure began to rub against Konoha again, and a war was looming. There is the full-strength Kumogakure village, eyeing it. You really can't relax for a moment. Gongyi, ninja trained by the medical system, is it available now? Sarutobi Hiruzen asked with concern. This matter involves whether Konoha can survive the war next. Gongyi didn't hesitate, it can be used. If you want to assemble a large team, you can transfer these medical ninjas from other teams to form a medical team. The specific personnel list, Gongyi has a copy. War is about to break out, this time Konoha's medical force will be stronger than before. Even compared to Tsunade's situation, the effect is not much worse. Hey, I'm relieved then. The village of Kurigakure itself is not strong, I am just worried about the village of Kumogakure. Gongyi stood up suddenly and stood in front of the window, patting the railing with his hands. If Kumogakure has a move, then I don't mind doing it myself. Sarutobi Hiruzen frowned, it's not good for the village to rush to Kumogakure, who has good strength. Gong Yi turned around, the corners of his mouth curled slightly. Killing chickens to warn monkeys can also shock the enemy. If Kumogakure really dares to attack Konoha, then I might as well really kill him as a monkey. Listening to these confident words, if he hadn't had absolute confidence in his own strength, he probably wouldn't have been able to say it. Sarutobi Hiruzen's pupils shrank, the last time Gong Yi was able to beat Kyubi, Ninetales, who was controlled by Sharingan. Even the weakened Kyubi, Ninetales, even if it's just a few minutes, is scary enough. Now more than a year has passed. How far has Gong Yi's strength improved and how far has his Kekkei Genkai developed him? Compared with his own apprentice, how about Jiraiya in Sage Mode? If he is afraid of Gong Yi's strength, Sarutobi Hiruzen can comfort himself with Gong Yi being the future of Konoha. But Gong Yi's murderous words are really like his friend Shimura Danzo. Thinking of this, Sarutobi Hiruzen felt that he had to guide the minds of his younger generation. Gong Yi. Well, what Konoha needs is peace, not war, you know that. Gong Yi's eyelids are drooping. So far, although he is afraid of 3 generations, he does not need to show his cowardice. Some of the things I wanted to say, the positions I wanted to make clear, have already been done. Only in this way, his next plan can easily get the support of other forces. Lord Hokage, I respect you very much, and I agree with your thoughts. Konoha village needs peace. However, Gong Yi sneered and said, being complacent will not bring peace. I would rather take what is straight than what is in music. No waiting. Sarutobi Hiruzen speaks, and the palace counts the past. The first Hokage fought all over Sengoku, coerced the ninja world, established Konoha with the title of the god of ninjas, and exchanged for peace. During World War II, the second generation of Hokage, with the sick and weak on the battlefield, won 10 years of peace in Konoha. You and I have experienced the 3 battles personally. Konoha was beleaguered from all sides, and the frontal battlefield was defeated. I killed Sunagakure Chiyo and forced the village of Sunagakure to retreat. The 4 generations of Hokage were behind, destroying 3,000 reinforcements alone, thus obtaining an armistice agreement. Since ancient times, peace has been obtained from war, not by compromising and making concessions step by step. Sarutobi Hiruzen frowned, pinched the bong with his hand, and squeezed the copper tin cigarette rod to make fingerprints. He had heard these words from Shimura Danzo. Gong Yi heaved a sigh of relief, nodded to the 3rd Hokage, and walked out. Only when he was about to push the door to leave, Sarutobi Hiruzen suddenly made a sound. Gong Yi, you are already 16 years old. No, it's only a few days away. Hokage-sama, do you want to give me a present? Chapter 203. That year 16. The 16-year-old Gong Yi represents what the Hokage world is. When he is 16 years old, he can start a family, take over the family property, and even some family ninjas can take over the patriarch. For example, the current Kakashi, who is a few months older than Gong Yi, is the patriarch of the Hatake clan. Although he is the only one in this family. So what about Gong Yi? 16-year-old Gong Yi means he is an adult, a man with the strongest strength in Konoha village. And in a village, shadow. The seat will undoubtedly be held by the strongest person. If Sarutobi Hiruzen is going to give Gong Yi a gift, then there should be no better gift than the seat he is sitting on. It's just that he's willing to send it out. Gong Yi doesn't think about it. Just like what he said before, he would rather take what is straight than what is good. If Sarutobi Hiruzen threatens certain conditions, hand over the position of Hokage to Gong Yi. Then Gong Yi will not agree. He used to be able to let Sasori of the Red Sand go for a fair deal. Now, he pays more attention to promises. Besides, with Gong Yi's arrangement for many years, a Hokage position, the time has come, and it will come naturally. Release a sweetened, water-style ninjutsu. Yes, master. Gong Ling's hands are like butterflies wearing flowers, gracefully but quickly start hand seal. Her body is fused with Hashirama cells. Although weakened by the inhibitor, this body is not as strong as imagined, nor does it have Mokudan wood-style ninjutsu. But in terms of chakra, it is indeed much higher than the average person. Sweetened water-style Uzumaki waterspout. Huge chakra gushes out, and water vapor lingers around. Water vapor lingered, and began to rotate in layers but not directional. After accumulating for a second, it was suddenly thrown out. Wherever it passed, a gorgeous and huge waterspout roared past, and the giant trees around it fell one after another, making a loud roar. Gong Ling sighed and looked at Gong Yi expectantly. Gong Yi nodded and commented, "This technique was improved by me based on the second generation of Lord Hokage's extreme ninjutsu hard whirlpool water blade. It incorporates my understanding of Rasengan and a ninjutsu I have experienced. That ninjutsu is undoubtedly 3 joules suction crushing. After the improvement, the power of this ninjutsu is already close to the level. If you have enough chakra and create a large enough waterspout, the effect is absolutely comparable to the level. As of now, you are already a very good master." Hearing these comments, Gong Ling hummed with joy. What she likes most now is to do the things that the master explained to her ninjutsu school, and then to be praised by Gong Yi. If something isn't done right, she'll just double down on it. "Master, you are amazing. According to what I read in the book, Lord Hokage, the second generation, is a real genius who has created many great ninjutsu, but you can improve and optimize it. You must be stronger than him. How did you learn to flatter yourself?" "Master, isn't this a compliment?" "No, I'm not qualified to praise the master. Gong Ling is wrong." Looking at Gong Ling's sincerity and fear, Gong Yi smiled. It is true that the second generation Senju Tobarama is indeed a genius. But this does not mean that the ninjutsu he created is perfect. For example, Impure World Reincarnation, this ninjutsu, has been continuously improved by Orochimaru, and the latter effect is several times better than the original. Even Senju Tobarama himself can't be reincarnated. And Namikaze Minato, his master, Hiraishin, has added a sealing technique to his own, which is stronger than the original Senju Tobarama. Times are always moving forward. The latter are not necessarily comparable to the predecessors. Improving Senju Tobarama one-level ninjutsu is not difficult for Gong Yi, who has a huge knowledge reserve. In the form of Rasengan, Chakra Ultimate, plus 2 touches to 3 joules suction crushing. Improvement and creation of the Uzumaki waterspout is nothing but a matter of course. Looking at Gong Ling, who was still a little scared, Gong Yi reached out and rubbed her head. "Don't worry, I didn't blame you. Actually, if it wasn't for the fact that I didn't have enough sweetened, water-style ninjutsu on hand, I wouldn't have tried to improve the second generation ninjutsu to teach you. I have a chance in the future. I'll find you some handy sweetened, water-style ninjutsu." Gong Ling calmed down and asked inexplicably, "But I don't have a lot of chakra right now. If I learn too much ninjutsu, but I can't use it, isn't it contrary to what you said, Master? I can't chew too much." "The truth." Gong Yi shook his head and put his hand on her belly. "No, you have to remember that you have great power, but you can't master it yet." From the lower abdomen, Gong Ling's face slowly turned Yuhi. She murmured, "Master, are you talking about the thing sealed in my stomach?" "Well, don't worry about it now, you first strengthen yourself. One day, I will make it surrender to you." Gong Yi let go and carried his back. "I'll go out later, you can practice at home with peace of mind." "Yes, Master." Gong Yi left with his hands behind, somewhat looking forward to today's dinner. Well, today is his adult day, and Aili said that he was alone and very lonely. So we have to celebrate his birthday. But Yi took care of Naruto and couldn't leave the village, so Gong Yi was asked to go to her house. "Why don't you just go straight after work?" because Wei Li said to prepare first and let Gong Yi come over later. When Gong Yi arrived near Eriri's house, he sensed the surrounding situation with his divine sense. His brows furrowed slightly. These Anbu Ninja really listened to his own words, and widened the distance of monitoring and guarding a lot, basically not affecting Ari's life. However, the number seems to have doubled. Gong Yi walked away, and when he arrived at the door of Wei Li's house, he turned his head and glanced around. A cold snort. Humph. The Anbu ninjas who were watching around here all felt a pain in their brains, as if they had been stabbed in the depths of their brains by some thin needle. Seeing Gong Yi's cold eyes in the distance, he couldn't help but pale in horror. Lord Gong Yi's strength has reached such a level that thousands of meters away, it can hurt people and be invisible. Is this demonic illusion or some kind of mystery? What is the purpose of doing this? Is it that he doesn't want us to disturb Ari Sakurai, or the intelligence that they have for dinner tonight? Today is the birthday of Mr. Gong Yi. Wei Li went to buy a lot of miscellaneous things. I think it was for his birthday. Probably because they don't want to be disturbed, and they don't want to have eyes on them. There was no communication, and a group of Anbu ninjas stepped back a long distance in tacit understanding. Gong Yi's expression softened, and he turned around and rang the doorbell. While the sound of trotting came from inside the house. The door opened, and Wei Li blinked her big eyes and bent down slightly. Come in, Master Dean. Gong Yi laughed dumbly. You're dressed like that. Wei Li turned in a circle, fully showing her wonderful figure. Doesn't it look good? Yuhi color high heels are calves that increase by 1 point and become fat, and lose by 1 point. White long skirt covers the thighs and knees, and there are not too many decorative items on the top. It's just that the long hair like a black waterfall flows down the stream, resting on the slightly upturned buttocks, a curve that is extremely charming, making people swallow their saliva involuntarily. As for that cheek, Gong Yi has no comment, it is too beautiful. The moment when Wei Li is at the best age in her life, with the most carefully prepared dress, it will bloom. Gong Yi smiled, changed his shoes and entered the door. Wei Li was very happy, followed behind him and closed the door, just wondering why Gong Yi looked a little tired. Chapter 204. A pleasant gift. A very hearty dinner. A table of dishes, many of which are Gong Yi's favorites. It took a lot of thought to paint pear clothes. Gong Yi was also very happy to eat, just stroking his forehead with his hand from time to time. Wei Li took out a bottle of wine and poured it slowly for him. Today you are 16, which means that you are an adult, and you can do many things, such as drinking. That my father treasured back then, and I wanted to bring it out when I got married. Ari originally said happily, but slowly lowered her head. Like many ninjas in Konoha, Ariki was not born into a wealthy family. When she was young, her parents died because of a mission. Later, a friend of a mother in the hospital raised her to the age when she graduated from the ninja school. Probably the same, for adopting Naruto, she did not have any resistance, but took care of Naruto with all her heart. Gong Yi took the wine glass, looked at her slightly depressed mood, and deliberately said something happy so that she wouldn't get caught up in it. Well, is it the wine when you get married? Gong Yi looked at her with a half-smiling smile, until Sakurai Ari's face even looked at Yuhi. Wei Li lowered her head and ate a few mouthfuls of vegetables. Just hadn't eaten much, she raised her head suspiciously and looked at Gong Yi. President, are you not feeling well? No. Then why do you keep rubbing your forehead 320 inches? Go up a little bit, and you'll be fine in a while. Naruto. I slept. I came back from work today and played too much. I fell asleep when I was cooking. Oh. Gong Yi snorted, and there was still a tingling sensation in his brain. This is the sequelae of mental overdraft. 2 days ago, he studied the seeds of divine consciousness, and found a wonderful use. It was based on the principle of breaking Gonguling's mental barrier with a fine needle of divine consciousness. Based on his huge spiritual power, he divides his consciousness and attacks the enemy's spirit. However, this method sounds good, but it is not as powerful as imagined. First of all, it is necessary to let the enemy lose his mind. After all, Not every ninja is always in a state of undefended outside the brain like Gong Ling was at that time. Second, it can hurt the enemy. But even so, the damage is very limited, and it can only cause the enemy a little pain. When he entered the room just now, he first swept the surrounding area with cold eyes, causing the Anbu ninja who was watching to lose his mind, and then split up dozens of spiritual senses to attack. Although the effect is achieved. But Gong Yi also overestimated his mental power, attacking dozens of Anbu ninjas at one time. It was a bit overdraft. Maybe in the future, with more mental energy, you can do this. Right now, we have to control the number of differentiated consciousnesses. Gong Yi thought about it. If these Anbu ninja reveal this information to Sarutobi Hiruzen, then his own strength in Sarutobi Hiruzen's heart may have to be re-evaluated. After drinking half the bottle of wine, Hilly suddenly said, "I'll give you a rub." Wei Li stood up with her skirt in hand, and after leaving, she put her thin hands on both sides of the top of his cheeks. Gong Yi did not refuse, but closed his eyes and enjoyed it comfortably. At this moment, he only needs to run the spirit refinement and restore the overdrawn mental power to a less uncomfortable state. Is no doubt that a massage with painted pear clothing will be much better. Wei Li stopped for a while, but did not step back, and kneaded Gong Yi's forehead rhythmically. The atmosphere seemed to be a little more charming. Suddenly, Gong Yi opened his eyes and sipped his saliva. "Ellie, you said that a man can do many things when he is an adult, right?" "Ah. Don't let this bottle of wine your father prepared for you." "Ah. Gong Yi stood up abruptly, and hugged the painted pear robe in one hand. After dawn, Wei Li stroked her black hair behind her slender and smooth neck, and ate her breakfast with small mouthfuls. Gong Yi sat on the sofa and hugged Naruto, telling him not to run around. This little guy, now more and more lively, can't sit still all day long. Imagine that when he grows up, the ghost knows what will happen in the village. Gong Yi would occasionally look back at Hilly, and Hilly would also look at him with a heart-to-heart. There is nothing shy, there is just endless tenderness. Perhaps in her heart, she has been waiting for a favorite person. And Gong Yi, she can be regarded as her own eyes, growing up little by little. Until last night, when Gong Yi really grew up, she gave herself to him without any psychological burden. "Sit down, or spank you." Gong Yi, ferocious, put Naruto on the sofa. Naruto tilted his head and bit his fingers in his mouth. He didn't move, as if he could understand Gong Yi's words. Gong Yi walked behind Hilly, leaned down, and put his arms around her. "Don't go to the hospital today, take a good rest at home." "Well, listen to you. If you want lunch, I'll have someone bring it, or I'll come and accompany you to eat. You are busy, don't worry about me." Gong Yi smiled and kissed her forehead. "It's up to me to do everything. Because you are my little man, I will definitely have to listen to you in the future." Gong Yi pretended to be angry and said, "Is it small?" "Yuhi, not small." Gong Yi laughed heartily, rubbed her forehead, walked over to Naruto, hugged Naruto, and rubbed the child's chubby face. "Be good at home and listen to your auntie, or come back and I'll spank you." "Little Naruto, let me tell you, I wanted to spank you last night. If you don't sleep well, you get up in the middle of the night and cry. If you don't listen today." "Humph." Naruto giggled, and a pair of small hands grabbed Gong Yi's face. Wei Li watched this scene quietly, her heart seemed to have finally settled. When Gong Yi walked out of Ellie's house, he keenly felt that someone was waiting for him. To the fork, Sarutobi Hiruzen was smoking a cigarette and looking at him solemnly. "It's like a long wait. Long time. You shouldn't stay there." Gong Yi methodically sorted out the white robe, which was a coming-of-age gift from Hilly. A hand-sewn garment. Young people should not wear black clothes all day to look cool, they should be sunny and refreshing. White is better. Raise your head and look at this old man. Gong Yi was unafraid and said eloquently, a lonely person celebrates his adult birthday for another lonely person. There's nothing wrong with it. Sarutobi Hiruzen took a deep breath and went straight to the subject. It is not allowed to be too close to the human Jinchuiki column force. Gong Yi sneered, is that trying to isolate Naruto, keep everyone away from him, hate him, he's Minato's child, who did Minato sacrifice for? If you really do as you say, Minato if he was still alive, what do you think his father would be in? Sarutobi Hiruzen frowned, then shook his head. Everything is for the village, Minato will understand me. Yes, he will understand you, but it does not mean that he is not uncomfortable. The son of a hero should not enjoy the treatment of the descendants of criminals. Gong Yi snorted coldly and wanted to walk away. Sarutobi Hiruzen bowed his head sadly, no longer talking about this matter, but changed the subject. But the new topic is still heavy. Shisui brought back information from the village of Kurigakure, and they are ready to wage war against me, Konoha. Chapter 205. Time is a pig-killing knife. Undress. Yes, master. Gong Ling closed his eyes and lay shyly on the bed. Her is the serious Gong Yi. With one hand on her lower abdomen, the seal of the 5 elements shines. Gong Yi poured out a huge chakra, carrying his spiritual consciousness, and instantly entered the seal of the 5 elements. Passing through the raging wind, endless thunder, across the vast continent, and came to the ocean surrounded by the sea of fire. All of these are mental illusions transformed into illusions, but they do reflect the power of a powerful seal. Human, I'm going to kill you. The majestic roar came from the sea, and a giant beast as big as a mountain, waving 3 diamond thorns, rushed frantically to the small figure in the sky. However, just rushing to a few hundred meters, a strange force made it impossible to advance. The seal of the 5 elements was cast by Gong Yi. No matter how powerful Ren Sanwei was, he couldn't find it in the palm of his hand. Just like Namikaze Minato, the seal of 8 trigrams set up, even if most of it falls off. Kyubi 9 tails can induce Naruto, break the seal, and let it break out. However, Minato is just a chakra with consciousness that can seal it again. The same is true for Gong Yi. His eyes flashed with dazzling golden light. Gong Yi snorted coldly. The tailed beast is sealed in the body of the human Jinchuriki column force, shouldn't it be like this? Isoda Sano roared. You lied to me. I never promised you any conditions, how can I deceive? The 3 tails were suddenly silent. It was only then that he realized that although Gong Yi had friendly exchanges with him earlier, he was actually just responding to his own needs. It took it for granted that it was communicating with Gong Yi on an equal footing. In reality, however, Gong Yi never took it seriously. Make a deal, I'll unlock a seal for you, so that you can see the sight of this world. A low and heavy voice came from Sanwei. You want to keep fooling me. Gong Yi doesn't speak, just looks at it so quietly. On the vast sea, there is only the sound of the magnificent waves. After a long time, Iso Mio said unwillingly, what deal? Gong Yi said indifferently, lend some of your power to the Jinchuriki column power to help her have enough strength to deal with everything in a crisis. I promise this deal. People and beasts don't need so many twists and turns. Deal was concluded. Gong Yi raised his hand and waved, and the outermost Ling Gangfeng disappeared. Sano Asada looked through the earth shrouded in thunder, and seemed to be able to see the scene outside. This is what it has been craving for years after being banned by the village of Kurigakure. But just when it was happy, a huge chakra suddenly transformed into a golden longsword and shuttled through this sealed world. Constantly screaming and rushing, the 3 tails were furious. Human, what do you mean? Gong Yi glanced at it coldly. This is just a precaution I left behind, and it won't hinder you from anything. But if you have any overstepping action, then the consequences, you can imagine. Finished speaking, he ignored the 3 tails who had fallen into silence, and Gong Yi's consciousness was instantly drawn out. The large and generous hands passed over the white belly, bringing a touch of rippling. Put it on. Don't catch a cold. Gongling shyly turned around and put on her clothes. Gong Yi packed his things and said, "This time I'm going out, it may take a long time to come back. I'm not at ease when you're at home, so come with me." Gongling was stunned for a while, then her eyes lit up, loudly. "Yes, master." Gong Yi smiled and shook his head. This girl must have stayed at home for a long time, she must be bored. A black robe was thrown away. "Cover up and try not to show your face. If anyone asks, you say it's my bodyguard, and nothing else." "Well, master." Over time and adjusted her face shape for many years, her appearance has been very different from the original. But if you are seen by familiar people, you can still detect clues from the details. A problem may only be solved in a few years before it can be completely solved. At the gate of Konoha village, a scene that has happened countless times has reappeared. Saying goodbye to the ninja troops and wishing them a safe return from the battlefield. It's just different from before. This time, Hokage, Orochimaru and Jiraiya are no longer leading the team. Instead, it was replaced by a handsome young man in white clothes. Ariyi held Naruto's little hand, stood outside the crowd, and looked away. Man, wearing the clothes he gave him, seemed to emit a dazzling light under the cheers of the crowd. Gong Yi nodded slightly to them, then waved. Amid the cheers, with the ninja troops, they headed towards the land of water. Sarutobi Hiruzen is standing in the Hokage building, with the technique of telescope, reflecting Gong Yi's back, walking away. Shimura Danzo stepped out of the darkness, looking unhappy. "Hiruzen, you know. If Gong Yi wins this war, he will be the next Hokage." Sarutobi Hiruzen murmured without looking back. With his strength, with his reputation in the village, it will be sooner or later to ascend to this position. Take this war as a coming-of-age gift from me. Humph. Shimura Danzo leaned heavily on the crutches and said coldly, "He is just a commoner ninja, and he was brought from the village outside. Let this kind of person master Hokage rights. The harm to the village, have you ever thought about it?" Sarutobi Hiruzen's body trembled, but when he turned around, his cloudy eyes flashed. "Then do you have a better candidate? Or, do you want to be the 5th generation of Hokage?" Danzo kept his mouth shut, his expression moved, but he restrained the desire. Sarutobi Hiruzen shook his head. "If you had come forward earlier, I would have announced your identity as an elder and announced the many things you have done for the village. Then you can become the commander of this war logically. If you can win, you can also be a 5th-generation candidate based on your qualifications." But when the information was sent back, you knew it as soon as possible. However, you did not stand up, you are still waiting. My old friend, what are you waiting for? Shimura Danzo looked ugly, bit Kiba, dropped a word, turned around and left. Some things are destined to be done by someone. Sarutobi Hiruzen sighed. Danzo was right, there are some dirty things that need to be done by people. However, this is not an excuse for him to be afraid of reality and avoid challenges. This old friend said that he was old, then he was actually old too. The so-called ambition, after countless retreats, is just ridiculous empty talk. Sarutobi Hiruzen looked away, intending to end the telescope technique. Just on the man in black robe beside Gong Yi, he paused. "Stop." Gong Yi raised his hand, and the army behind him stopped neatly. Three masked ninjas emerged from the shadows and saluted in front of him. "Master Gong Yi. Master Gong Yi. Master Gong Yi." Gong Yi nodded, looked at the man in the lead, the man wearing the cat face mask, and opened his mouth. "Kakashi, the mission of Kurigakure village is over, but your team doesn't have to go back to the village for the time being. I've enlisted Lord Hokage, and now you follow my orders." Kakashi was stunned for a moment, then nodded until a letter with Hokage's signature arrived. "What about Uchiha Shisui? He infiltrated the village of Kurigakure alone before, fought with the Kurigakure ninja named Ao, and stole a lot of information. So go back to the village early, and now you should be by Lord Hokage's side. Hearing Kakashi's answer, Gongyi frowned slightly. Uchiha Shisui, who has already received Shisui's help in this battle, would be much easier. But the 3 generations of Hokage's stayed. That's it, you follow behind the troops and rest for a while. At the front line, there will be important tasks for you. Yes. 3 Anbu ninjas nodded, and when they went back, 2 people stopped. Azuki Yugao glanced at Gongyi and left with a complicated mind. Kakashi's heart skipped a beat, and he subconsciously looked at the man in black behind Gongyi. Reason, he had a familiar feeling. Chapter 206. Bubble, 5th. A crescent moon hangs high above the sky. In the village of Kurigakure, 4 generations of Mizukage Karataki Yagura are walking alone in a dark tunnel. Is impossible for people in other villages. Unless the situation is extremely dangerous and cannot be dealt with by ordinary ninjas, there are often enough guard ninjas around Kage. But thinking of the person he will meet next, it is only natural that he behaves in such a strange way. At the end of the tunnel, there is a huge abyss. And moist smell in the air. That is the smell of the sea. This abyss was developed from the bottom of the sea. It is a natural seal built by natural power and the powerful ninjutsu of the first generation Mizukage. Karataki Yagura stopped abruptly, and in front of him stood 2 people. One carried a large knife wrapped in white cloth strips, and the other wore a round orange spiral mask. 3 of them met, and there was no sound strangely. Yes, it's just the constant hand seal action of the masked man. Mask, 3220. Down, one eye, turning the pupil in the shape of a scythe hook. A long while, the masked man let out a long breath and waved to Karataki Yagura. Yagura went out in silence. This scene is so quiet that it makes people feel depressed. Obito breathed a sigh of relief. Karataki Yagura is not weak. His Mangekyo Sharingan does not have a particularly strong demonic illusion, so his control over Yagura is not too strong. As for the control of the tailed beast, it is almost instinctive, but compared to Uchiha Madara's control of Kyuubi, 9 tails, the combat power of the Kyuubi, 9 tails, he controls has been severely reduced. To reinforce demonic illusion every now and then so that he can control Yagura to do things for him. Kisame Hoshigaki watched this scene with mixed feelings. He also came out of the village of Kurigakure. For the shadow of the village, he will always be full of respect. Just seeing that the 4th generation of Mizukage is being controlled by others, he just feels extremely mocked. But he is one of the accomplices. Almost, the order that should be conveyed to him has also been conveyed. The masked man said indifferently, as if this trip was just to convey an order. He's disguising his actions to reinforce demonic illusion's controls. Kisame Hoshigaki looked at him. Should I call you Mr. Madara, or Mr. Mizukage? Masked man glanced at him. The name doesn't matter. If you can, it's fine if you call me Faye. Oh, that's it. Faye's name is quite good, and it is convenient for me to do things. The name Uchiha Madara is still too loud. Akatsuki doesn't need such a loud voice. Kisame Hoshigaki looked at him suspiciously. The rumored Uchiha Madara, domineering Lingran. Why don't you care about these things? The masked man looked at the abyss under his feet and sighed. This should be the place where Santai was once trapped. If the 3 tails were still there, it might be a lot easier to deal with Konoha this time. Speaking of the 3 tails, Obito under the mask looked a little gloomy. When Gongyi suddenly appeared, Uchiha Obito, who was nominally dead, was not easy to appear. The death of Rin Nohara, he was greatly stimulated, and even opened Mangekyo because of it. Exactly like this, he immediately left the scene at that time. At that time, he thought that Gongyi would take away Kakashi, Nohara Rin's body, so he didn't think about it. Now become Uchiha Madara in the world. And execute the Eye of the Moon plan. He realized that he didn't make a move at that time, and lost some 3 tails. Nohara Rin died, and the 3 tails either dissipated, or were immediately drawn out and resealed. In either case, good news for him. Especially the latter. If Gangyi finds Konoha ninjas, or himself becomes a three-tailed Jinchuriki, column force, it will be a great hindrance to the next plan to resurrect the 10 tails. And with the addition of a tailed beast, Konoha will be even stronger. They have the strongest Kyubi, 9 tails, themselves. In order to avoid future encounters with the powerful Konoha who has the double Jinchuriki column power, Uchiha Obito does a lot of things. Control Yagura, retreat to Iwagakure battlefield, and maximize the strength of Kurigakure village. Assassinate the Konoha ninja and weaken the power of Konoha. Now let Yagura start a war against Konoha, and also weaken it. If Konoha's strength is too strong, it will be much more difficult to snatch the tailed beast from behind. For this battle, it doesn't matter to him what damage will. Even, he has already begun to plan, another tailed beast owned by Kurigakure. 6-tailed rhinoceros. But when you think of sealing the 9-tailed beasts, you need to proceed in order. And now Nagato hasn't perfected the magic 9 dragons seal, so he doesn't seem to be in such a hurry. Let's press Konoha first, and it's better to pull Kumogakure in too. The masked man thought. 3,000 reinforcements led by Gangyi arrived at the border of the Fire Nation after 10 days. On this day, Nara Shikaku and Yamanaka Inoichi stood on the road with a team of 1 elite ninja, and seemed to be waiting for something. Yamanaka Inoichi frowned. Here. Nara Shikaku followed the sound, and in the border jungle, countless ninjas jumped out of it. A gust of breeze blew, and Gangyi instantly appeared in front of them. Ni's been waiting. Duent dare, Lord Commander, this way please. Gangyi smiled. Master Shikaku, please call me Gangyi, sir, I can't bear it. Nara Shikaku and Yamanaka Inoichi looked at each other, shook their heads, and said, you are the commander of the army now, and a lord is an honorific title for you. Other ninjas are watching, so you have to do this. Gangyi hummed, not bothering about this. Where's Akamichi Choza? He's watching from the front line, and this time it's just me and Inoichi who will greet you. Gangyi nodded and pointed to the reinforcements behind him. A total of 3,000 ninjas, plus the 6,000 people you led earlier are enough to defend against the Kurigakure army. Inoichi, please go and reorganize and bring them to the camp. Yamanaka Inoichi had nothing to do, and quickly went to the back. Gangyi took a breath and seemed to be able to faintly smell the saltiness in the air. Shikaku-sensei, let's take a walk. The two walked unhurriedly, deviating from the main force, and finally came to a coast. Distance, in the vast sea, dotted with countless small islands. Among them, there is a continent that hangs over seas, which is the country of the wind, and the village of Kurigakure is also there. Of the 5 major ninja villages, Sunagakure and Kurigakure are the weakest. But these 2 villages, one is in the yellow sand desert, the other is overhanging the sea, and there are natural dangers to rely on. Even if you are weak, you can protect yourself. Nara Shikaku explained to Gangyi, and by the way, also explained the next situation. This time, Kurigakure declared war on me, Konoha, and it was a little strange. Geographically, they don't have much conflict with us and shouldn't be. Gangyi's expression was calm, and there was an answer in his heart. Presumably, this is Uchiha Obito's plan. The current Yagura is very likely to be controlled by Obito. Then Obito controls Yagura and starts War 1. What is the purpose of 6? Nara Shikaku continued. Because of the terrain, this battle can only be attacked by Kurigakure village, and we are the main defender. Because we can't fight across the sea, and the sea environment is too convenient for Kurigakure ninjas to use Suiten, water-style ninjutsu. Form is very passive. Just as the two were chatting, a bubble floated slowly over their heads. Gangyi raised his head and glanced, a golden light swirled out of him, rushing towards the bubble with lightning speed. PFF'd. With a soft sound, the bubbles burst. Gangyi sneered, how dare to eavesdrop on our conversation. In the vast sea, the fog filled the air, and a handsome young man in a sky-blue robe stepped on a flat boat and held a tubular weapon. When the bubble burst, he frowned. Under the control of chakra, the boat underfoot turned its direction and no longer approached the border continent of the Land of Fire. Turn and head towards Kurigakure village. Chapter 207. Withdrawal. That is. Shikaku's pupils shrank. He just subconsciously thought it was just bubbles floating out of the ocean. Unexpectedly, it turned out to be the enemy's eavesdropping method. Gongyi smiled lightly. If I guessed correctly, it should be the strong Kurigakure, Yugao. Feather high. Nara Shikaku was extremely surprised. Isn't that the young man who was rumored to shine in the Battle of Rock Mist during the Third World War? Perhaps he has to add the identity of a six-tailed Jinchuiki column force to him. However, not many people know this. Gongyi suddenly and interestingly asked a question. During the Third World War, Shikaku-sensei, do you think the Third World War is over? Ah, you mean. Gongyi stood with his hands behind his back, looking out at the boundless sea. The short-term peace does not mean that the three wars are over, and the next war is just a part of the Third Ninja War. Nara Shikaku stared blankly at Gongyi's back. At this moment that he realized that this young man, who had been watching his growth all the way, had a far-reaching vision, and he was still above the crowd. The fog was full of turbulence. Yugao stopped the boat and leapt lightly to the land. Kurigakure ninja who was in charge of vigilance came over and said respectfully, Lord Yugao. Yugao smiled freely. Don't call me your lord, I am a part of the village just like you. Yes, Yugao-sama. Yugao was helpless and pointed to the direction of the camp. Is my master still there? Yes. Then I'll go find him first. Calmly on the damp soil, and quickly entered the camp. His eyes stopped at the main office for a while, and then he got into another room. An old man with white hair and beard was muttering and reading a book. Yugao saluted respectfully, Master, I'm back. Old man glanced at him and said displeased ly, didn't I tell you not to come back when you go out? Yugao shook his head. The village has left a lot of strong people over the years, and the 4 generations of adults have. Alas, as a member of the village, contributing to the village is what I should do. How can I leave? Old man snorted coldly. In his opinion, human Jinchuriki column force should not be on the battlefield. 4 generations of Mizukage have done more and more. But thinking of this, he was also worried. Even the power of Jinchuriki column was sent to the battlefield, and the strength of the strong in Kurigakure village was already stretched thin. Why does Mizukage-sama insist on fighting this war persistently? Yugao, can you control the power in your body? Yugao touched his lower abdomen and said bitterly, I don't know why, it seems that it is still resisting me. The old man sighed, his eyes twinkling. The 6 tails are sealed in his disciple's body, and he can't tell whether it is good or bad for his life. If only I could find a way to take it out without hurting Yugao. Reconnaissance of the Konoha army's intelligence, but it's just an insignificant part of the many intelligence assassinations before the war. In the next few months, the 2 sides carried out this kind of action countless times. Seems that the 2 armies are facing each other across the sea, but in fact, the war has started quietly. Gongyi doesn't. I like this passive form. If it drags on like this, it will not help him to gain credit and prestige through war. And the longer it drags on, the easier it is to get into trouble. In Konoha camp, where the commander lived, a group of gathered Jonin listened solemnly to the information brought back by Kakashi. In the village of Kumogakure, there are signs of gathering ninjas and assembling an army of ninjas. At this juncture, Kumogakure village made such an action, probably in an unfinished battle with Iwagakure village. Very likely that the spearhead is aimed at Konoha village. Now that Konoha has experienced the Kyubi 9 tails turmoil, its vitality has not recovered, and there are only a handful of strong people who can take on great responsibilities. When this happened before, Sanin sent them out separately to guard one side. But this time, is it necessary to let the 3 generations of Hokage? Personally, the last 3 generations of Hokage did not achieve satisfactory results. This time, not many people have hope. Not that there is any doubt about Sarutobi Hiruzen, it's mainly Konoha Ninja Village. The number of ninjas is really not too many now. Of 6,000 ninjas on the battlefield of the Land of Water has drawn almost 2/3 of Konoha's strength. With the remaining third, facing the Kumogakure army, the result can be imagined. For a time, everyone's eyes fell on Gong Yi. He is the commander, and it is up to him to decide the major events on the battlefield. Gong Yi looked calm, and tapped the map on the table with his fingers. One more repetition, the heavy voice seemed to hit everyone's heart. Suddenly, Gong Yi's finger stopped on the map. Lifting his head, Gong Yi's mouth curled into a meaningful smile. Withdraw. In the village of Kurigakure, the small body of the 4th generation Mizukage Yagura sat on the huge seat, looking a bit nondescript. But the ninja below, no one dared to question whether he was qualified to sit on the Mizukage throne. Mention the position that the 3 generations of Mizukage entrusted to the shadow before his death. Yagura's own strength is enough to secure this position. Moreover, over the years, Yagura has been persecuting ninjas or families with Kekkei Genkei in the village, and various bloody suppression actions have made people unable to underestimate his majesty. Oh, the Konoha ninja retreated. Yes, Lord Mizukage. According to our intelligence unit investigation, the dark blue demons have been stalemate with us for several months after arriving at the front line. But just 2 days ago, the army moved out and left the front line. Hearing this, other high-level officials in the village were all in shock. Konoha's move, why is the purpose of abandoning the borders of the country of fire and allowing the invasion of the Kurigakure army? Then, are they not afraid of provoking the dissatisfaction of the daimyo of the country of fire? But Yagura smiled, I think it's from the Kumogakure village. The troops were dispatched, and Konoha's troops were scarce and could not be divided into 2 places. Can only focus on that and put it aside. For the news of Kumogakure sending troops, others are hearing it for the first time now. After some analysis, I really think it is possible. After all, the village of Kurigakure hangs overseas all the year round, and does not set foot in the mainland very much, and the only few invasions have been repelled at the border of the country of fire. The last time the Iwagakure army attacked the Land of Water, the enemy had the Doden, Earth-style, ninjutsu that paved roads and bridges, and moved forward little by little. Can only force the daimyo of the Land of Water to send the village of Kurigakure to fight. Now Konoha does not pay attention to Kurigakure, but to Kumogakure village, and it is only natural. It is estimated that when they want to come, Kurigakure village will invade the border of the fire country at most, and if they get some benefits, they will retreat. Yagura sneered, if that's the case, then we don't have to be polite. Send troops and land in the fire country. Country borders. First build up the defense line, and then step by step nibble on the fertile land of the fire nation. Some people were worried and said, there are not many ninjas in our village. Is it too dangerous to fight with all their strength? Karataki Yagura glanced at it, her eyes narrowed slightly, and it exuded a dangerous smell. Are you questioning my decision? The man hurriedly lowered his head, not daring to speak any more. Soon, almost 2 days after Konoha's retreat, the army of Kurigakure landed on the border of the fire country one after another. The momentum revealed, there was a faint momentum of engulfing the fire country. This news was also spread to other forces. Sunagakure village in the Land of Wind. Rasa smiled disdainfully after reading the information. The deep blue demon is still a little younger, and his command of operations is far from Orochimaru, so he retreated like this. If it were me, I would at least have to face off against Kurigakure village and defeat Kurigakure village before we could shift our focus. Kumogakure village, the Land of Thunder. The 4th generation Raikage, who took office in 320 shortly after, clapped his hands on the table and made a vibrating sound. He laughed. The last time I fought the dark blue demon, I wasn't happy at all. A few years have passed, but I want to see if he is stronger or I am stronger. Iwagakure village in the land of Earth. After reading the information, Onoki frowned and said nothing for a long time. After a long time, he nodded. This child is very sensitive to the situation judgment. Kurigakure village was defeated by my Iwagakure village last time, and after having gone through the blood fog policy again, and defected from many strong men, its own strength is not enough to worry about. In contrast, the mighty Kumogakure village is the biggest threat. Just fight the Kumogakure village first, and then free up your hands and clean up the Kurigakure village. It's so much easier. It may cost a lot, but at least, Konoha can keep most of the interests of the Fire Nation. However, Onoki also shook his head. This battle, the key point, still had to be on the battlefield of Kumogakure. If Konoha does not resist, then the unobstructed village of Kurigakure will surely drive straight in. The country of fire will be in danger at that time. Compared with these three villages, two are watching and one is eager to try. Konoha, at the center of the war, was silent. Only Danzo was shocked after reading Gong Yi's plan from the third Hokage. Gong Yi is too daring. Third generation of Hokage took a deep breath. Perhaps this is what he told me before, to kill the chickens and show the monkeys first. Only in this way can many coveted forces be deterred. Bright moon hangs high on the sea. The land that should be bright, but because of the fog, I can't see my fingers. A white figure was walking on a small road in the country of waves, heading towards the village of Kurigakure, step by step. This kind of road is not suitable for large troops to pass through. As long as the ninja army ambushed, it is easy to wipe them out. But the few ninjas have no such worries. Beside the white figure, a black figure followed closely. Chapter 208. One person kills one village. Master, it seems to be coming. The crisp female voice rang in his ears. Gong Yi stopped, and his spiritual sense came out, and he couldn't help nodding. It's coming. Looking at Gong Ling's nervous face, Gong Yi smiled slightly. You try to hide as much as possible later, you don't have to come out to help me. After I finish things, you can just protect me and go. Gong Ling blinked. Yes, master. Gong Yi calmed down. What he was going to do this time was even more dangerous than the last time he entered Kurigakure village. Last time, it could be said that he sneaked in secretly. After being accidentally discovered, he had to fight a battle. And the main thing is to break out of the siege. And this time, all he has to do is to attack the village of Kurigakure with one person's strength. Yes, the retreat of the army is just a cover. Of 6,000 Konoha ninjas was mobilized to the border of the country of fire near Kumogakure, led by Nara Shikaku, to defend the army of Kumogakure village. And he, alone, dived into the land of water. To warn the monkeys. Kurigakure village is chicken, Kumogakure village is monkey. Until this tiger Konoha recovers, monkeys can't be called king. Who? In the depths of the fog, there was a questioning voice. Gong Yi didn't answer. A black spear suddenly appeared and pierced away. In an instant, a muffled hum came. Not only that, the black long spear swings its tail and travels freely in the mist, and the sound of the body falling to the ground is constantly heard. Instant ninjutsu, Doden earth-style, sharp spear. Gong Yi nodded with satisfaction, much faster than before. Before arriving at Kurigakure village, he didn't want to be discovered, so as not to waste his efforts. According to Gong Yi's speed, without consuming chakra and reducing the frequency of strength, it took him one night to finally arrive outside Kurigakure village. At this time, the sky will be clear, and the fog will gradually disperse. The village of Kurigakure is peaceful and the so-called blood fog village seems to be just an illusion. However, the blood fog is a fear rooted in the depths of people's hearts, not some diffuse fog. Gong Yi took a deep breath and the chakra surged wildly. With both hands shrouded in front, a ninjutsu that has been accumulated for a long time is about to burst out. Such a big action will naturally attract the attention of Kurigakure's vigilant ninja. Who? Quote. Enemy attack. A sharp scream resounded all around, and dozens of ninjas rushed over directly. However, in the face of all this, Gong Yi didn't. Hurry up, spit in his mouth. Futon, wind style, vacuum dance. A dazzling blue light lit up, and the endless wind condensed. In it, a black sickle emerged from the void, and on the black sickle, it exuded a rich and dangerous aura. When the huge black sickle was formed, it suddenly rose, and then slashed down. The wind brought by chakra, with a brave and domineering force, slashed from the gate of Kurigakure village to the center of the village. With a length of 1,000 meters and a width of nearly 10 meters suddenly appeared in the gully. There were messy buildings, silent, dead ninjas, and countless ordinary civilians. This blow was extremely domineering, and countless Kurigakure ninjas ran out of the surrounding buildings. The large buildings looked around on alert. It's just that when they saw the terrifying gully, their hearts trembled. The power of manpower can be so terrifying. Who is it? Roars sounded from the back of the village, and then a small figure descended here at an extremely fast speed. Karataki Yagura Yuhi looked at all this with heartache. Even in a state of control, most of the time, he will rely on his subconscious to do things. Only critical commands will be controlled by Uchiha Obito's demonic illusion. In other words, he himself does not know that he is being controlled, and still thinks he is the fourth-generation Mizukage of the village of Kurigakure. He regards everything in the village as his territory. Now that the village has suffered such a blow, he can't help but be angry. A white figure slowly walked in from the ruined village wall. Karataki Yagura was furious when he saw the man's face. Dark Blue Devil. Words were finished. Karataki Yagura did not give Gong Yi a chance to speak, and attacked brazenly. The figure jumped out, still in the air, with both hands hand seal. Sweden, water style, great exploding water colliding wave. The overwhelming water flow, like a flood, rushed towards the white figure, and there was a constant explosion. Once caught in it, there is no life or death. Not only that, Karataki Yagura dives into it, like a duck in water, towards the enemy. Only when he was halfway through, his pupils shrank and stopped suddenly. A sea of fire suddenly bloomed, facing the flood without showing weakness. Water and fire are constantly connected. Under the consumption of each other, terrifying high-temperature steam evaporates. Once contaminated, it will inevitably be injured. Karataki Yagura stopped where he was, with a sneer on the corner of his mouth. Kaden, fire style, is restrained by Sweden, water style. You can stop me by the steam that evaporates, but you can't stop this ninjutsu. However, his sneer, in the continuous annihilation of water and fire, gradually disappear. This Kaden, fire style, ninjutsu is amazing. When the two finally dissipated, Karataki Yagura looked at the figure not far in front, and his heart trembled. The man was tall and straight, his face was handsome, and his eyes were deep. On that forehead, a diamond-shaped mark shimmered slightly. Pale white strange energy surrounds him, sometimes twisting like a snake, sometimes circling like a dragon. Hissing, a low roar, ups and downs, endlessly. Gong Yi turned on Sage Mode and walked slowly forward. It is normal to use Sage Mode to instantly cast Majestic Destroyer Flame, Great Fire Annihilation to block Yagura's Sweden, water style, ninjutsu. Stopping in his footsteps, Gong Yi looked at the countless ninjas around him, his eyes slightly narrowed. This scene seems familiar. Once, he also stood below, facing the 3 generations of Mizukage Tsujido Tsukuri, as well as countless Kurigakure powerhouses. That battle, he almost killed the 3 generations of Mizukage and was seriously wounded. And this time, he faced the situation again. The roles are reversed. Once he was besieged and killed, but now, he is going to defeat the village of Kurigakure with one person. Karataki Yagura touched the scar on his left eye, which is the shame that Gong Yi left him. Kurigakure ninja, listen to my orders. Kill him. There were no loud promises, there were just countless ninjas, leaping over the building, constantly rushing towards the bitter wind that Gong Yi brought. Sweeten, water style, water colliding wave. Sweeten, water style, water dragon bullet. Sweeten, water style, Kurigakur, S jutsu. Innumerable powers of Sweeten, water style, ninjutsu, large or small, in the hands of the Kurigakur ninja, they were spread out. Because of being on the sea and land, water vapor is everywhere, so the release of Sweeten, water style, ninjutsu is easy. Especially the signature ninjutsu unique to Kurigakur village, the Kurigakur assassination technique, shrouded in white fog, countless ninjas got in and kept approaching Gong Yi. If someone else came, it would definitely be a mortal situation. However, for Gong Yi, he sneered, folded his hands, and then crashed to the ground. Senpo, sage art, was reincarnated. All things in the earth, countless inanimate beings, came to life all at once. Please download Filu Shaokin's latest chapter. Baidu search 99 Playmates to find 99 Novel Network. Chapter 209. To Gong Yi, 3rd. Ah, what is this? Monster. Bastard, what's attacking me? Can't you kill Sweeten, water style, water breaking waves? It's useless, it's useless. The clay formed claws and swung it wildly. The houses that collapsed before, those built stones one by one to form stone men, striding towards the Kurigakur ninja. More trees were uprooted. They rose, waving their branches, sweeping across a large area. Chaos. It's all chaos. In the white fog, screaming again and again, the ninja who got in, screamed from anger, then to fear, and finally the sound gradually disappeared. Kurigakur, who had not had time to rush in, watched this scene, and his heart was broken. What kind of weird ninjutsu is this? It can even give life to the dead, and even control them to attack the enemy. Karataki Yagura couldn't stand it anymore, but Kiba pulled out the stick on his back, chakra lingered up, and slammed the coral hard on the ground. The stick breaks the sea and strikes. Gong Yi's expression remains unchanged, and an azure water wall stands in front of him. Sweeten, water style, water formation wall. Boom. With a muffled sound, the water wall trembled wildly, but it finally stopped. Bastard, doesn't he need a hand seal to release ninjutsu? Karataki Yagura was shocked and angry. The last time Gong Yi escaped from the village of Kurigakur, he was not so strong. The current Gong Yi is obviously stronger than that time, even a grade higher. That kind of bright white energy, what the hell is it? But there was no time for him to wonder. The vast fog dissipated, Gong Yi retracted his hands. In front of him, all the things created by inorganic reincarnation have returned to calm. Only the bloody land 320 and the stump and the broken foot illustrate the cruel scene that happened before. 300. Just one ninjutsu took more than 300 lives. The power of sage art is shocking. And this is just an appetizer. Gong Yi suddenly raised his head, looked at Karataki Yagura with a cold look. At this glance, Karataki Yagura's heart was shaken. But Gong Yi soon turned his attention to other people. He had already discovered that Karataki Yagura was indeed being controlled. Its strength, obviously compared with previous years, has not grown much. This is an abnormal phenomenon. In the Hokage world, ninjas with strong talents often have a period of strength. The higher the talent, the earlier the leap period. For example, Kakashi, Sasuke, Naruto, etc. At the age of 13 or 14, jumped from the middle genin level to the elite jonin, and even quasi-kage level. Karataki Yagura has been cultivated by the third generation of Mizukage as the fourth generation, and his talent is high, no doubt. His age is similar to Namikaze Minato. But the strength displayed now is only an elite jonin level. This is the level he reached a few years ago. Haven't made progress in recent years. No, obviously impossible. Then there is only one reason. Uchiha Obito's demonic illusion control. Obito's Mangekyo Sharingan doesn't have the demonic illusion as powerful as Tsukuyomi, so when he controls the tailed beast and the human, he can't use 100% of the tailed beast or the human's strength. This is the only way to explain why Yagura is the shadow of a village. There is no good way to resist such a character. If Gong Yi wanted to, he could behead him on the spot, regardless of the consequences. It's just that, next time, who will Obito control to kill Yagura's influence? It's impossible. Gong Yi doesn't need variables. All he has to do now is to knock down the village of Kurigakure, maim it, and beat it to the point of fear. Killing a fourth-generation Mizukage can have a variety of effects. The other ninjas present in Kurigakure village has the same effect. In contrast, it is undoubtedly better to control variables. Of course, the difficulty will also be higher. My mind turned around. Gong Yi looked at others with a cold eye. Fingers together, a long sword with brilliant golden light condensed out. Drink lightly in your mouth. Go. Long sword groaned softly, a tremor, and rushed over a Kurigakure with the momentum of thunder. Circling around, the head fell to the ground. Jin done. It's the Kekkei Genkai of the dark blue demon, the golden ninjutsu. There was an uproar, even fear. Third generation of Mizukage is injured by this ninjutsu. If it wasn't for being seriously injured by Gong Yi, he would not have died on the battlefield. Over the years, as Gong Yi's reputation has grown, and his background has gradually stabilized, the village ninjas have been collecting information on him. Medical ninjutsu that surpasses Tsunade, taijutsu comparable to the fourth generation of Reikage, and the combat method of one-handed hand seal, etc. Among them, the most eye-catching is undoubtedly the Kekkei Genkai that has never existed in the ninja world since ancient times. Jin done. This Kekkei Genkai has powerful properties beyond common sense. Under the abundant chakra form changes of the master, Jin done ninjutsu can be changed at will. Sometimes he takes the form of kunai, sometimes he transforms into a long sword, and even a short sword. And its characteristics, there are 3 characteristics of sturdiness, speed, and sharpness. When all this is combined, the power of Jin-yun ninjutsu is almost even better than other known Kekkei Genkai. The sword light moves like a dragon, and wherever it passes, there must be blood flying. Heads fall to the ground. Even if someone blocked it, there would only be a big hole left between the chest and abdomen. The screams kept ringing. Karatake Yagura was furious, and led a group of ninjas to rush up desperately. Face of the enemy's siege, Gong Yi's expression didn't change at all. Sage art chakra flows into the whole body from the diamond-shaped mark on the forehead, replenishing the previous loss. Slap the ground with one hand. Senpo, sage art splits the earth and turns the palm. Ka, 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 ka. Some ninjas with poor physical skills and unhappy reactions fell directly into it. Apart from a scream, not even the body was left behind. When the earth closed, there were only a few hundred ninjas in front of them. Gong Yi's hands quickly hand seal, a round ball, appeared in his hands. Senpo, sage art white excitement. The ball trembled, emitting thousands of white lights, causing the air in a large area around it to vibrate wildly. Hundreds of Kurigakure only felt that the bones of the whole body were violently rubbing, and their bodies became numb in a moment. Not only that, but the strong light from the ball, and the harsh air trembling sound, made Kurigakure's eyes stabbed shut, and tears flowed from the corners of his eyes. Ears can't hear anything. Gong Yi is also uncomfortable, but the 2 small snakes condensed by sage art chakra around his ears swim to the corners of his eyes, blocking the white light, and the line of sight can penetrate the small snakes to see outside. He, not affected by this technique, open his mouth and spit forward. The powerful Kaden, fire-style, ninjutsu appears again. Senpo, sage art dragon flame release song jutsu. A fire dragon with white flames roars out. While shaking his head and shaking his tail, the enemy kept falling down, and raging flames ignited on his body. Karatake Yagura looked hideous, and the water formation wall blocked the dragon. Under the protection of the guard ninja, a seal is formed on both hands. Sweetened, water style, water mirror technique. One a mirror composed of clear water stands on the ground, turns its direction, and aims at Gong Yi. Gong Yi frowned slightly, but he didn't feel any discomfort, he just felt like something was missing. It was a ray of breath. Just as he was looking at it intently, a figure suddenly appeared in the mirror, lifted his foot and stepped out, walking directly out of the mirror. Gong Yi blinked, disbelief. Watching that scene in disbelief, that person actually looks exactly like himself. It's a mystery. Gong Yi raised his hand, and the black spear appeared in front of him, heading straight for that. Gong Yi and go. But a strange scene appeared, that in front of Gong Yi, a black long spear appeared, whistling forward. Its color, length, and momentum are all exactly the same. Two long spears, in the blink of an eye, the tips of the spears touch each other. Sigh, silent annihilation. Gong Yi was moved. He didn't believe in evil, and he instantly performed two ninjutsu techniques. Futon, wind style, vacuum dance. Kaden, fire style, majestic destroyer flame, great fire annihilation. Huge wind, helping the fire, surge forward. But another Gong Yi, even can do this. The same as instant, the same as the wind to help the fire. Boom! A violent explosion sounded, and it continued to explode. Kurigakure, still alive, seeing this scene, couldn't help cheering. Mizukage, Sama, blocked the dark blue demon. Karataki Yagura was a little tired, and when she saw this scene, she couldn't help but sneer. This technique becomes stronger when it is strong, and weak when it is weak. What kind of ninjutsu do you use? You can also use ninjutsu when you create it. I have to say, you can actually master instant ninjutsu, or even Jin-dun. But today, don't think about leaving so easily. He didn't say kill Gong Yi, just said Gong Yi don't think it's easy to go. After this battle, Karataki Yagura has discovered that Gong Yi's power is still beyond his own imagination. If Gong Yi wants to leave, his own ninjutsu is limited by distance, so he can't catch up at all. However, upon hearing these words, Gong Yi suddenly stopped. Look at him with a half smile. Then look at that, the exact same existence. Really? Chapter 210. 2 Village. The 8 inner gates are open. Open. Break. Health. Injury. The 4 gates are opened instantly, and the whole body is up and down, and the speed and strength are greatly improved. People. The man also acted like this, rushing over directly. He swung his right fist and bombarded the enemy's chest and abdomen. Bang! A puddle of clear water was scattered on the ground, offering a toast to the ninjas who had been sucked in by the cracked earth. Well, it's okay to use water instead of wine. Gong Yi clapped his hands and smiled disdainfully. He can copy my ninjutsu, although I don't know the reason, it's really powerful. But his body is just a pool of water and your chakra. How can it be compared? I have exercised my body countless times. In fact, if it weren't for Gong Yi's caution. He didn't even need to open the 8 doors, he directly used physical skills to fight, and he was sure to disperse the person in the mirror. Now his body, after countless workouts, has become terrifyingly strong. In particular, it has integrated Hashirama cells, which have strong self-healing properties. Perhaps the person in the mirror made by Yagura can achieve a good level of physical strength, but it is far worse than Gong Yi's body. Ninjutsu is broken. Karataki Yagura's face is flushed Yuhi. Gong Yi angrily, his face changed from Yuhi to blue, then from blue to Yuhi. Extremely ashamed and angry. Everyone, give it all to me. Kill. Kill him. ... Compared with the previous silent, but fearless siege, this time when Kurigakure rushed up, the sound of killing was deafening. However, Gong Yi showed sarcasm. If it wasn't for fear, why would he need to speak out to strengthen himself today? He will leave his name in the history of Kurigakure village. Now that the 8 doors have been opened, he is too lazy to use ninjutsu to bomb the enemy. Of Sage Art's chakra by the powerful ninjutsu is really terrifying. Sage Art chakra he made himself had already been used up, and halfway through the battle, he had already started to mobilize the stored amount from the yin seal. The vast majority of the ninjutsu he performed before were covered in a huge area and full of lethality. The kilometer-long vacuum slashing dance. The majestic destroyer flame, great fire annihilation that burns everything. The cracking earth that ripped apart the earth and turned its palms. And the inorganic reincarnation, white shock technique, etc. To say the least, loss is probably sharp gun, and water formation wall. In fact, Gong Yi also compared the three sage modes. In his opinion, sage art, the frog with the most frequent appearances, has the highest blessings for speed, strength, and combat response. The slug sage art that Senju Hashirama glanced at has the highest healing effect and chakra volume on itself. As for the snake sage art, which he masters, it has a great bonus to the power of ninjutsu. Thinking about it carefully, there is a little bit of battle, animal husbandry, and law in the previous online games. Gong Yi is also very satisfied with the snake sage art. Before Master Sage mode, his strongest is taijutsu, medical ninjutsu. Jindun ninjutsu is limited by the amount of chakra and can only be used as a whole card. Now with the snake sage art, the power of ninjutsu has been strengthened. It can be said that he basically has no weaknesses now. The attributes of the three dimensions have reached the perfect level. Now, since we want to kill Kurigakure, we will kill them one by one, right? It was even more shocking and terrifying. A golden light rushed out of the fog. Gong Yi held the hilt of the sword and pointed the long sword diagonally. Drops of blood flowed down from above, which was the blood of the ninja who died under the Jindun long sword before. Gong Yi let out a long laugh, and strode with his sword. Come on, come on, come on. Let me see how many Kurigakure ninjas you have. Is it enough for me to kill? Swish. The long sword slashed, and a Chunin stared at him and died unwillingly. Boom. Blocking the front with one hand, Rasengan blasted a Jonin who was attacking. The long sword turned again, and in front of Gong Yi, the people in the half-sector area flew out backwards. Everyone's neck has a bloodline. PFF'd. The blood was pouring out, and the scene was terrifying. Gong Yi was tossing around in the crowd, like a butterfly wearing flowers. The golden sword danced, and every time it was swung, it would definitely take a life away. Moreover, with his speed, his chakra strength was well controlled. The white clothes on his body were not even stained with a drop of fresh Yuhi's blood. It was really killing Yuhi, and he got out of the white blade. Dang! With a loud noise, Karataki Yagura Yuhi closed his eyes and blocked his golden sword with a coral stick. You devil! Gong Yi smiled casually. You've already been controlled by demons, so what qualifications do you have to speak of me? Long swords and long sticks crossed, Gong Yi slapped with one hand, and Rasengan forced Karataki Yagura away. Turning around, he kicked a ninja's body in half, and stepped on the man's shoulder. Gong Yi jumped into the air suddenly. Dozens of meters away, a group of ninjas were hand seal, ready to jointly release a large-scale Suiden, water-style ninjutsu. It's just that their hand seal speed is too slow. The long sword swung across the sky, and the half-moon swayed. A dozen golden lights escaped from the long sword and turned into golden kunai in midair. Puff puff, the sharp knife pierced the tofu, and those ninjas died unsuspectingly in the golden misery. Gong Yi's thoughts moved slightly, and the golden suffering did not turn around, and came within 10 feet of him, turned into a storm, and did not strangle the enemy among them. In this way, no one could approach 3 meters beside him. Instead, wherever he went, Kurigakure must have fallen. Even if the enemy hides in the corner, hides on the roof, and is far away. It seems that as long as he shows a little killing intent, Gong Yi will instantly kill him when he feels danger. Human life, at this moment, is worthless at all. Like a mustard, it was harvested by the long sword in Gong Yi's hand. With the loss of physical strength, Gong Yi has opened the 8 inner gates to the 6th gate. In the state of Jingmun, you can keep your stamina, unless you have no energy to draw. Karataki Yagura is still fighting Gong Yi with all his strength, but Gong Yi doesn't seem to want to mess with him. Often force him to go and slaughter the other Kurigakure. This scene was also seen by many besieged Kurigakure. The fourth generation of Mizukage of his own has lost the strength of the blood fog policy in the village before, but has become pitifully weak. Even his roars and shouts were as if he was craving for Gong Yi to stop. The earth has been dyed Yuhi, and the village of Kurigakure is in ruins. There are ninjas everywhere who are unwilling to die under the sword. This life, I didn't die on the battlefield, I didn't die in the mission, I finally died in the village, in front of Mizukage. They are not reconciled, and even more angry. Why does Mizukage, Sama even have the strength to protect the village? If you dare to invade my Konoha, you must prepare to be slaughtered. ... If your ninja army is still there, how can I take advantage of the fact that I am in the village? It's all because of your wrong decisions. Since it's wrong, you must have the consciousness to bear the mistake. Gong Yi had a smile on his face, wielding a long sword in his hand, reaping people's lives. But in his mouth, he spit out the words of punishment one after another. He not only wants to kill, he also wants to punish. Haha, is this your shadow? This is the weakest shadow I've ever seen. He can't even compare to the 4 generations of Kazekage Rasa that I knocked to the dust. How dare you to fight with me, Konoha? I, Konoha's 4th generation Hokage Namikaze Minato, killed 3,000 Iwagakure troops with one person. Today, I will slaughter your Kurigakure village, and I will live up to my reputation as him. ... Karatake Yagura stopped, his eyes bloody Yuhi, and his hands were shaking. Even his legs seemed unable to support his small body. After many years of practice, I have grown crazy. Why can't I even stop this man's footsteps? My 4 generations of Mizukage have really failed enough. It's just that I can no longer sit back and watch Gong Yi be so rampant. It's a big deal, just take this life and give the village an account. However, before he could die with Gong Yi's footsteps had already stopped. The tip of the sword pointed diagonally to the ground, blood dripping. Gong Yi looked at the sunset, and felt exhausted. This is from early morning, fighting until evening. A bubble floated over the village swayingly. Then, more bubbles. Gong Yi narrowed his eyes and looked at the handsome man who walked in from outside the village. Bubble Hagaka 6-tailed Jinchuriki, column force. The handsome man in the sky blue robe looked extremely ugly, looked up at the slaughtered village, and screamed in the sky. Deep Blue Devil, you should be damned. Chapter 211. Overwhelming bubbles surrounded Gong Yi. After the long howl, Yu Gao suddenly shouted. Blast! Bang, bang, bang. Countless bubbles exploded like disillusionment, and its power was no less than that of a cage-level powerhouse. Gong Yi's face changed slightly, the water formation wall flashed out instantly, and the rock armor was attached to his body. Forcibly blocked this blow. Yu Gao took this opportunity to pick up the flute and quickly blow out the foam. Sweetened water style, strong acid foam. More and more foam flies out and keeps flying towards Gong Yi. Gong Yi sneered, put his hand to his lips, opened his mouth and spit. Kaden fire style, dragon fire. Roar. With a roar, a large flame burst out, blasting bubbles in midair. The strong acid contained in the bubbles floated down, corroding the buildings of Kurigakure village into a mess. Seeing this scene, Yu Gao, who was already in a state of anger, became even more manic. In him, there is a chakra energy that does not belong to him. 3220. Tail Beastization. Gong Yi was surprised and pulled back. Someone blocked up and was killed by him with 2 swords. Yu Gao can't be. An old man with white hair and beard rushed in from outside the village, and when he saw the Yuhi-colored chakra emanating from Yu Gao's body, his face changed greatly. However, before he could get close, he was forced to back away. Master. Yu Gao let out a low growl, as if he couldn't control himself. Don't let the tail beast control your mind and stop your movements. But the enemy. Don't worry, the master will come out. Ah! The old man looked at his chest in astonishment, blood spilling out. A golden kunai swirled a few times inside, stirring his internal organs to a pulp, and then flew out and returned to Gong Yi. Gong Yi sneered. The village of Kurigakure is really strong. There are 7 people with ninja swords in the past, Sujido Tsukiori generation, and this generation has produced many strong people. Pity that the salacious operation of Mizukage in the past dynasties just forced the strong to be detached from morality, unwilling to contribute to the village, and even defected. Who seems to be very powerful. If he is allowed to join the siege of himself, he will be really difficult to handle. However, this old man should have not shot for a long time, and his sense of battle is really bad. He just took advantage of his concern for his apprentice, secretly let go of a golden dungeon, and beheaded him. Seeing the master slumped to the ground, Yu Gao was stunned. When he woke up, his eyes suddenly bloody. Yuhi. I'm going to kill you. Boom! A powerful aura filled the air, Yuhi-colored tailed beast coat, 4 tails faintly appeared. Only the last 2, he can reach the 6-tailed state. In this regard, Gong Yi was not afraid at all, and went head-to-head. The lotus rose. Yu Gao, who lost his mind, still had his fighting instinct, dressed in the coat formed by the tailed beast chakra, and confronted Gong Yi head-on. Boom, boom, boom. The sound of explosions in the distance continued to sound, and the ninjas who were still alive retreated one after another. However, even so, the scope of the physical battle between the two is getting bigger and bigger. From the edge of the village to the center of the village, and from the village, all the way to the rear of the village. Karataki Yagura looked at the scene with an ugly face. He found that he seemed a little out of hand. Damn, if the 3 tails are still there, the 3-tailed Jinchuriki column force, I will definitely be able to kill Gong Yi today. Gong Yi didn't hear what he said, he only knew that the Jinchuriki column strength, melee and long-range attack of the person wearing the shirt would be greatly improved. Enemy. Legs swept across. Konoha whirlwind. Yu Gao opened his mouth and spat out hot acid. Yoden, lava-style, bundle. Gong Yi looked a little surprised and hurriedly backed away. Turned out to be Yoden, lava-style. Obviously this technique is only known in the ninja world. Only Terumi Mei can. Why does Yu Gao also say that Yoden, lava-style, is from the 6 tails, and Terumi Mei is also from the 6 tails Jinchuiki column force here? Understand Yoden, lava-style, Keke Genkei, but at this time, he can't allow him to think more, when he retreats enough distance. Gong Yi slapped the ground with one hand, and shot into the sky endlessly. Doden, earth-style, Yan Jinchuriki, column 2 long gun. Yu Gao pulled his hands, and a huge bubble wrapped him in it. The densely packed sharp earth guns, after piercing the bubble, advance a few points and be blocked. Gong Yi grinned, the opportunity was seized. He ran frantically, and kept jumping to the heights with the help of the collapsed Kurigakure building. When he reached the highest point, he suddenly jumped into the air. Fists began to bombard the air continuously. The high-speed punches rubbed against the air to generate flames, and then used the hitting air to form a huge shock wave. Punch. 2 punches. 3 punches. When the number of positive punch shock waves accumulated is sufficient, that piece of flame is like a peacock opening the screen. The 8 inner gates morning peacock. Go. Sigh. A sharp cry, countless shock waves, crazy it exploded and went straight to Yu Gao. Yu Gao opened his eyes wide, looking at this unavoidable move, and tried his best to resist. Yoden, lava-style, bone-melting monster technique. However, this powerful ninjutsu was 1 second before Gong Yi was extremely skilled and hit the super powerful physique trick at the right time. Boom! Countless shock waves suddenly fell on his chest, and there was a constant roar. Bone shattered, PFF'd, blood sprayed. Even under the protection of the tail beast coat, Yu Gao was on the verge of death after receiving a blow from Morning Peacock in the front. He was defeated, and if no one rescued him, he would die soon. No one thought that Gong Yi, who had been fighting for a day, would be able to fight back and forth with the 6-tailed Jinchuriki column force. The scene is intense, and the weak can't intervene at all. All kinds of ninjutsu were called, and the whole village was destroyed. It would be fine if it was just that, but Gongyi still won. The six-tailed Jinchuriki column force is at stake. Karataki Yagura's face changed greatly, and he burst out. Protect Yugao. Yes. Who were still alive rushed towards them frantically. I vowed to save Yugao and block Gongyi. Seeing this scene, Gongyi laughed. With both hands on the ground, Yuhi's face turned up, and he shouted angrily. Rise. Senpo, Sage Art Wanli Earth Flowing Wall. Rumble. The huge city wall rises from the ground, blocking everyone out. Quick, blast away this city wall. Rescue Yugao-sama. Karataki Yagura even used the powerful Suiten, water-style, ninjutsu to blast away the city wall. The reason why he was so anxious was not just to save Yugao. The most important thing is the six tails in Yugao. Now the village of Kurigakure has lost the three tails. If the person Jinchuiki column force is killed, 1. The six tails died for a short time, and in this period of time without resurrection, there will be no tailed beasts in the village of Kurigakure. The only strategic weapon to deter other villages is gone, and the village of Kurigakure will face the danger of annihilation. And Karataki Yagura has an idea in his heart that makes him extremely excited. Jinchuriki column force of the six-tailed man, Gongyi breathed a sigh of relief within the 10,000 li earthen wall. He looked down at Yugao, who was gradually losing his breath. Killing him means nothing to me, just kill him later. The corner of Gongyi's mouth. Ching Chao, his plan, start the first step today. Wrap his right hand with a golden dungeon, remove the powerful corrosive tail beast coat. Gongyi reaches out and touches Yugao's lower abdomen. Round of sealing ninjutsu from the village of Kurigakure appeared in front of him. Just looking at it, Gongyi was sure, this sealing technique is indeed from the Uzumaki clan. With a twinkle in his eyes, Gongyi chakra poured in. Seal. Release. Philo reminds you. 3 things to read, collect, push the latest chapter. Baidu search 99 Playmates find 99 Novel Network. Chapter 212. Cut off the six tails. The seal stripes full of strange patterns turned black from Yuhi, and then turned into a liquid like ink, flowing out. The seal is broken. Gongyi quickly flew backwards. Almost as soon as he left, thousands of miles of earth flowed through the wall, and a group of Kurigakure rushed in. As soon as they saw Yugao lying on the ground, they rushed over. Karataki Yagura was also inside, and his expression changed when he saw Gongyi walking out. Dangerous. Everyone, retreat. Everyone was stunned, but it was too late. Ah! Roar. The sky was gusting, Wangyang beat the waves on the coast, and the endless energy of heaven and earth gathered. White light slowly formed, and a ticking liquid flowed out. The earth was corroded. In this scene, the world changed color, and everyone was shocked. Phew! A burst of breathing sounded, and countless liquids were sprayed out. All the liquids seemed to be corrosive, and the ninjas who were contaminated made screams one after another. Ah! What a lifesaver! It hurts, monster! Karataki Yagura stepped aside with trembling hands. Looking at that, a huge 29, white slug-like monster, his eyes were fixed on the six tails behind it, and he didn't want to go away for a long time. Six-tailed rhinoceros. In terms of appearance, the six-tailed rhinoceros can be said to be the ugliest, and the least majestic among the 9 big-tailed beasts. It was very ugly, with neither the size of a mountain nor huge pupils. Was a liquid-like snot flowing all over his body, and it was even uglier than Tsunade's psychic beast, the slug. However, no one would underestimate its power. After breaking the seal, Yugao, who had already died, remained silent. When it turned its head and looked at this familiar scene, it looked up to the sky. Kurigakure village, ban me for countless years. Today, I will destroy everything. Yin and Yang chakra, in the ratio of 2:8, began to converge. In its mouth, a huge black ball condensed out. Karataki Yagura's face changed greatly. He ran away from the village, and ran wildly. The other ninjas who were still alive but didn't know why, watched this scene unknowingly. Tailed Beast Bomb. A move that all tailed beasts can perform, and it is also the strongest move. The ultimate ninjutsu, the powerful ninjutsu that destroys a village and a country. The black light, in a dazzling and strange state, appears in front of everyone. The six tails trembled suddenly, and the tailed beast bomb spit out. Along the center of the village, bombarded all the way. Goes, no grass grows, no houses for people. It was not until the sea near the village of Kurigakure came a huge roar that the tailed beast bomb finally disappeared. Karatake Yagura stared blankly at this scene. Village, it's over. Originally, most of the Kurigakure village was destroyed because of Gong Yi's large-scale ninjutsu. Now bear another tailed beast bomb. At this moment, it is like a ruin. He suddenly turned his head and shouted in a shrill voice, "What a good thing you have done. I will kill you." When the words fell, he ignored it and headed towards. Gong Yi, however, ignored this feeble barking. Don't even care what attack Karatake Yagura is about to launch. Once QB Ninetails also sent two tailed beast bombs towards Konoha. One was blocked by Gong Yi with all his strength, and the other was turned away by Namikaze Minato with Hiraishin Guiding Thunder. Karatake Yagura faced the tailed beast bomb of six tails, but avoided it selfishly. This kind of person, he doesn't even have the intention to kill him now. Contrary, his eyes suddenly lit up. Good chance. Using the only remaining Sage Art Chakra, Gong Yi quickly hand seal, released a ninjutsu. Senpo, Sage Art Raiden, Thunder Style, Jinchuriki Column. Boom. A Jinchuriki column composed of thunders rose from the ground and pushed the six tails away. Afterwards, the endless thunder turned into a chain, trapping the six tails. Originally, the six tails had just released a tailed beast bomb because of anger, and it is now in a weak state with no strength. In addition, the size is not too big. The mucus on the body even conducts lightning. Rei Jinchuriki column quickly tied it, and the lightning roared, turning most of the six-tailed body, paralyzed. Human, you are courting death. Six tails roared, and several tails slapped around constantly. Gong Yi's six gates were fully opened, and the sage mode increased again. A flying leap, dodging those tails, came to the six tails. The dazzling golden light turned into a huge chopping knife. I let you out. You should pay me a little too. Gong Yi grinned, slashing with a slashing knife, and headed straight for one of the tails. Human, what are you doing? Click. Ah. The shrill screams of pain suddenly sounded, and the harsh sound directly shocked some Kurigakure who were not dead. A tail condensed from the tailed beast chakra fell to the ground, swayed a few times, and lost its vitality. There is even a faint feeling of dissipating between heaven and earth. Six tails are not eight tails, let alone QB, 9 tails. Its body composed of chakra, once cut off, will soon dissipate. The Jin-Dun chopping knife instantly returned to Gong Yi's body, and Gong Yi's hand also became golden. Grabbing that tail, Gong Yi headed straight out of the village. Karatake Yagura bit Kiba and chased after him, but before he could catch up 2 steps, the sound of an explosion behind him made him have to stop. Six tails broke free from the bound dragon Jinchuriki column, and they were making trouble in the village at this time. No, I have to suppress the six tails first. He didn't think about whether he has the ability to suppress the tailed beast, because in his subconscious, he has the ability to suppress the tailed beast. Just stepped out of the village and got into an enchantment. Gong Yi nodded to the worried Gong Ling who was waiting by the side. Then he didn't dare to throw the snatched tail on the ground at all. Taking out a seal scroll, Gong Yi unsparingly cast out seals one after another. Of the sealing scroll alone is not enough to seal the giant chakra of the tailed beast. Gong Yi has to strengthen it. Even in order to ensure that the tailed beast chakra does not dissipate, he just bit Kiba and squeezed out the last drop of Sage Art chakra inside the yin seal. Is mainly based on the golden chakra. The sealing technique is the main body, and a drop of Sage Art chakra is the finishing touch. The huge chakra tail turned into a ball of light and was sealed into the scroll. Seal. Complete. Phew. 3. Gong Yi took a deep breath, feeling that all the plans before the battle had been completed. There was even an unexpected joy. But after relaxing, he only felt a dim light in front of him, and a violent tearing sensation came from his body. Oops, the mental strength is overdrawn, the body energy is squeezed too much, and the after effects of the 8 inner gates are coming. Not only that, he didn't even have Sage Art Chakra left. After biting on Kiba, you can't stay here for a long time. There are Uchiha Obito, Akatsuki and others behind Karataki Yagura. This battle did not appear, but Obito can definitely feel it. And Kurigakure has thousands of ninja troops on the border of the Fire Nation. They know the village is under attack and will definitely come back. Gong Yi took a deep breath. Gong Ling, let's go. Yes, master. Gong Yi raised his foot, but only took one step and felt unbearable pain. In this battle, he was not injured, but he reduced his state to a minimum. A full day, from early morning to night. With one person, against a village. His overdraft, even with the support of the Yin Seal, can't bear it anymore. Just when he stumbled, Gong Ling held him up. Master, I'll help you go. Well, let's go. Recommend a new book, The Battleship of the Silver River, to friends who are interested. You can go and read it. Also, the races have been good these days. Chingang Shadow has gone to the highlands. It is not suitable to stay here for a long time. 1. Received, the ruler should not stay for a long time. Baidu search 99 Playmates find 99 Novel Network. Chapter 213. Gong Ling vs Terumi Mei. Night was dark, and I looked at the ruined Kurigakure village in front of me. Kisame Hoshigaki, only felt chills all over. Is this what that man did? In front of him, the masked man stood with his hands behind his back, and under the mask, Obito's expression was exhausted. He and the ghost shark hurried to Kurigakure village, and saw Six Tails ravage Kurigakure village, destroying the remaining buildings. At that time, he immediately used Mangekyo Sharingan in secret to control the Six Tails. But in the process, Karataki Yagura seems to be too stimulated today and almost broke his demonic illusion. Last resort, he expended his energy to reinforce Yagura's seal. It wasn't until the moon was clear that Karataki Yagura, with the help of a group of Kurigakure ninjas who came back, subdued the Six Tails. My demonic illusion, after all, is still missing something. Yagura could be perfectly controlled, there wouldn't be so many things. Hearing the ghost shark's muttering, Uchiha Obito took a deep breath. Pretending to be mature, he sighed. The ninja world is really full of talents. This Gong Yi, at a young age, is so powerful, he is no less than the genius of our time. Kisame Hoshigaki looked at his back and calmed down a little. In front of me, is Uchiha Madara. According to what he said, if it wasn't for the battle with Senju Hashirama that year, he was seriously injured, and he still hasn't recovered completely. The ninja world was already trembling under his prestige. Just give Mr. Madara a little more time and he will recover. Masked Man looked at the Kurigakure under his feet. Grief-stricken, constantly cursing Gong Yi, shouting, and crying, and shook his head. Akatsuki's power is still weaker. We need to speed up the absorption of other powers. Kisame Hoshigaki said, isn't Orochimaru already joining Akatsuki? Why didn't you see him on missions? Masked Man explained lightly, he is now working with Nagato to study the 9 seals of the magic dragon, and he doesn't have to go on a mission for the time being. That man, as always, is obsessed with ninjutsu research. Even after joining Akatsuki, I am only interested in some unfamiliar things. Such as the 9 seals of the magic dragon, such as Rinnegan, and such as his own fake Uchiha Madara. To be honest, the masked man does not want to have more contact with Orochimaru. This wily character has too much contact and it is easy to expose his own tricks. He prefers to do things with ghosts and Nagato, who are not so smart and only fight for the so-called beliefs. The ghost shark looked at the ruins at the bottom of the mountain and couldn't help but said, "Mr. Madara, the dark blue demon has been fighting for a whole day, and it must be in a bad state now. Should we chase after him and kill him?" Exclamation mark quote. The masked man was silent. The man named Gong Yi, grew up with him. For him, he never really saw it clearly. In school, he easily beat his peers without even showing any trump cards. The first time I went out to perform a mission, I killed a Jonin team as a genin. There must be a lot of things hidden. Especially when Uchiha Madara died, Gong Yi was mentioned. It is said that this person has mastered extremely powerful taijutsu, and can even resist a blow from Geto Mazo, demonic statue of the outer path. From Karataki Yagura's memory, he did not perform this kind of body art today. Other words, Gong Yi still has a whole card. The masked man didn't dare to chase, he shook his head. Although this person is very strong, it's nothing to worry about. Don't tell me, even the Pain Six Paths in Nagato's hands can deal with him. Let him be a little more arrogant, and attract the attention of other Danin villages. It is also convenient for us to do things in secret. Hearing this, Kisame Hoshigaki couldn't help but nodded. Gong Yi attacked Kurigakure village today and attacked 2,000 Kurigakure left behind in the village, causing heavy casualties among the civilians of 1,000 Kurigakure villages. It even killed the six-tailed Jinchuiki column force, released the six-tailed, and destroyed the entire building of the Kurigakure village. Such a feat will definitely cause a great uproar in ninja countries. To draw their attention to the past, Akatsuki, do things. The country of rain has been completely controlled by Nagato. Orochimaru joins you, Sasori of the Red Sand has agreed to join, and the rest is Horn, all, Deidara. Mr. Madara, didn't you say that there is also a good talent in Tangren village, who can be attracted in? That, the guy named Hidan. Wait a minute, his strength is still very weak, it will take some time to grow up. Moonlight, if the conversation between the two was heard, I would be shocked. Of the names they mentioned was a missing nin from each village. Powerful, has a weird temper, and doesn't take human life seriously at all. If these people gather, the destructive power they can exert is simply unimaginable. Putting his hand on Gong Lingxiang's shoulder, Gong Yi walked slowly. In his body, the rejuvenation technique was being brushed over and over again. He slowly recovered his overdrawn mental power and physical energy. As for Sage Art Chakra, Gong Yi can't do anything about it. Maybe after I go back, I have to find a time to accumulate it slowly. Just a big battle, all the Sage Art Chakras that have been stored for a long time will be exhausted. Gong Yi really can't wait to complete the fusion of Hashirama cells now. As long as the fusion is completed, it can regenerate Hashirama cells by itself, and exercise a little. He can have the terrifying physique of the Senju clan. The chakra limit can also be solved by more than half. Even a chance to master Mokuden, wood-style ninjutsu. By then, he will also be the second ninja in the ninja world to have two types of Kekkei Jinkei besides Terumi Mei. Of course this chance is a little small, no matter what. Yamato or Danzo, they are both implanted with Hashirama cells, and the master, Mokuden, wood style, is only the most superficial state. Uchiha Madara is a real master of Mokuden, wood style, and its power is no less than Senju Hashirama. However, when he uses Mokuden, wood style, he has Hashirama's face on his chest and looks rather weird. I don't know what's going on. In my mind, I just thought of Kekkei Jinkei, Terumi Mei, Gong Yi, and the next moment, I met her. You are. Terumi Mei stood in the way of Gong Yi's departure like an enemy, and beside her, there were three ninjas. Gong Ling, kill them. Yes, master. Gong Ling accepted this order without hesitation, hand seal with both hands, and a huge drop of water rushed out. The face of all this, Terumi Mei remained calm in the face of danger. Yoden, lava style, corrodes slime. Kai, Gongling's sweetened water-style ninjutsu, after encountering a large piece of slime, is directly corroded and evaporated. Didn't have the slightest effect. Terumi-mei sneered, "Where is the little girl? Dare to do it to me." Gongling didn't show any expression. She was in a state of battle. Only Gong Yi's orders were in her mind. Kill them. Sweetened water-style Uzumaki waterspout. Huge chakra gushes out, and water vapor lingers around. Water vapor lingered, and began to rotate in layers but not directional. After accumulating for a second, it was suddenly thrown out. Wherever it passed, a gorgeous and huge waterspout roared past. Terumi-mei's face changed slightly, but she did her ninjutsu. Fudan vapor style art of mist. The good gray mist boiled and filled the surroundings, corroding the rushing waterspouts one by one. However, inside the waterspout, there is actually a spinning characteristic, and even if it is corroded, it will come to Terumi-mei's side. Terumi-mei slaps her hands on the ground. Sweetened water-style water formation pillar. A water Jinchuriki column rises from the ground to the sky and directly defeats the waterspout. Not only that, she also hand-sealed with both hands, quickly released more ninjutsu, and for a while, directly forced Gongling to the left and right. Gong Yi sighed lightly. The means of Gongling's master were still too few. The face of Terumi-mei, the strong blood follower, she was completely crushed and beaten. It's a pity that I entered Kurigakure village this time, and I didn't get enough sweetened water-style ninjutsu. Otherwise, you can help Gongling to strengthen her strength. However, this does not mean that Gongling's means are only so much. Gong Yi said softly, "Gongling, borrow its power." Gongling struggled to get out of Terumi-mei's attack, and with a thought, a yuhi-colored tail stretched out from behind her. Terumi-mei's face changed greatly. Tail beast support. You are human Jinchuiki column force. Chapter 214. What are you kidding? Chapter 3. Facing Terumi-mei's surprise, Gongling made a bold attack. Sweetened water-style rocky waterfall. With the blessing of the tailed beast chakra, this is the great waterfall technique of advanced ninjutsu, and its power is even greater. The overwhelming water slammed down. Like a waterfall of 10,000 feet, bombarding the deep underground pool. Terumi-mei was surprised, but not afraid at all. When he opened his mouth and spit, a gray mucus spewed out and went straight to the 9-day Silver River. Kai, kai, kai. It is still the collision of corrosive slime and water, high water vapor, constantly emitting. Kekkei Genkei and chakra, the tailed beast, are basically the same level of energy. A short time of fighting, Terumi-mei is not afraid of the power of the tailed orc Jinchuriki column. Even said that she now has the strength to fight the tailed beast head-on. Even if she can't win, she is enough to protect herself. Of course, if you want to be like Gong Yi, pressing the tailed beast to fight, it is still a little bit worse. With the help of Sanwei, Gongling continued to release the various sweetened, water-style ninjutsu of the previous master. Terumi-mei is good at sweetened water style and has a very good understanding of the characteristics of these sweetened water style ninjutsu. Coupled with 2 kinds of Kekkei Genkei blessings, for a while, it was also on par with Gongling. After fighting for a while, Terumi-mei was suddenly surprised. This is the power of the 3 tails. Has been locked in the abyss of the sea trench in the village of Kurigakure, and all generations of Mizukage have tried to find a suitable person, Jinchuriki column force, to make the most of it. 320 months of the blockade, many strong men from Kurigakure village visited Sanwei. Some people even comprehended special ninjutsu, such as the later Yagura, who mastered powerful ninjutsu such as coral stick combos and Asada iron cannonballs. After that, the 3 generations of Mizukage had the will to make Yagura become the 3-tailed Jinchuriki column force. However, because Yagura is too good, it is more suitable to be the shadow of a village. So the 3 generations of Mizukage Sujido Sukari, hesitant. It's just a pity that I haven't had time to make a decision to seal it into Yagura's body. The 3 tails were secretly sealed in the body of Nohara Rin by the Kurigakure ninja controlled by Uchiha Madara. Use it to carry out the 3 tails plan. After that battle, the 3 tails disappeared. Neither died nor appeared in the ninja world. During this process, the Kurigakure ninja never gave up looking for the 3 tails. However, there is no news. Until today, Terumi Mei was overjoyed. I didn't expect the 3 tails to be inside your little girl, and today I will bring it back to Kurigakure village. It is naturally impossible to really bring the tailed beast back. She wanted was to defeat the young woman in front of her, subdue her, and bring her back to the village in the form of Jinchuriki column force. And from the point of view of the scene, even after getting the assistance of Chakra with 1 tail, Gong Ling is not the opponent of Terumi Mei. Gong Yi nodded and had to say that in the Hokage world, there are some women who are really outstanding. Tsunade, who had a skin-to-skin relationship with him, and Terumi Mei in front of her. Not only is his skin white and beautiful, but his body is like a devil, and he is not inferior to other men. Even strictly speaking, after the death of Sujito Tsukuri and Karataki Yagura being controlled, the strongest ninja in the village of Kurigakure should be Terumi Mei. This can be seen from Karataki Yagura's persecution of Blood G ninja. Mei is still alive and well, and even joined Anbu. With a rub of his fingers, 3 golden rays of light fly like swimming fish. Ah, 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 with 3 screams, he kept standing beside him, watching Gong Yi's 3 ninjas vigilantly, and fell directly to the ground. Terumi Mei looked distracted, and when she saw that golden light, her heart shook. It's you. At this moment, Gong Yi's consciousness moved, and a hard needle of consciousness pierced into Terumi Mei's eyebrows. Ah! Terumi Mei only felt that her head was stabbed hard, and the pain was unbearable, and the movements of her hands slowed down. Gong Ling seized the opportunity and slapped Chakra's tail fiercely behind her back. Directly shoot Terumi Mei flying dozens of meters. When Terumi Mei shook her head, her face was pale, and she half knelt with blood on the corners of her mouth. A man and a woman were already standing beside her. Head, Terumi Mei smiled miserably. As the dark blue devil you. Gong Yi nodded, you know me. Terumi Mei's mind flashed that scene. A man who was completely embarrassed, burned his whole body by Fudan, vapor-style ninjutsu, even his face was burned to the bone. As they passed by, a golden light pierced through his mask. And he remember the ugly face, but I remember the man who made a riot in the village of Kurigakure and almost killed 3 generations of Mizukage. Later I learned that that person was the dark blue demon of Konoha. Now after many years, that ugly face has returned to its original appearance, and it is even so handsome that people dare not look directly. Terumi Mei snorted, as if she didn't care about her situation at all. She threw a very strange question. How did you know me? Gong Yi was stunned and frowned. What do you mean? Terumi Mei took a deep breath and explained, I'm in the village of Kurigakure, and I've never been well known, working in Anbu. Even in the village, many ordinary people do not know my name. But when you passed me by then, you called out my name. I've always been curious about this. How did you know me? Gong Yi scratched his head, only to realize that he seemed to have exposed something. At that time, he relied on the appearance of the original book, and when he saw the face under the mask of Terumi Mei, he blurted out directly. Now that I think about it, this weird question is probably in Terumi Mei's mind, and it has been turned around countless times. Lowering his body, Gong Yi stretched out his fingers and tucked Terumi Mei's yui-colored hair. Well, your hair is beautiful. Don't change the subject, answer me this question, and tell me that even if I die today, I don't blame you. Terumi Mei said firmly, there are some things, she is very persistent. Gong Yi felt that it was not easy to handle, and suddenly threw a proposal. Let's do it. Let's make a deal. I'll tell you a secret, you don't have to ask this matter, and cooperate with me by the way. Terumi Mei looked at him suspiciously, don't kill me. Gong Yi chuckled, you are no threat to me, or the entire village of Kurigakure, no threat to me anymore. No benefit in killing you, so I might as well cooperate with you, and I'll catch something. Terumi-May lowered her head and thought for a while, and when she raised her head, her cherry lips parted slightly. Chakra is flowing, Yoden, lava style. A big golden hand, pressed directly on her mouth in an instant. Gong Yi chuckled, woman, sometimes, my patience is not as good as you think. Terumi-May sat on the ground slumped, you killed 3 of my 3 subordinates. You also killed many of my village comrades, and even seriously injured the 3 generations of Mizukage, causing him to die on the battlefield. I can't make a deal with you. You still kill me. Perhaps after you accept the terms of the deal, you will be more willing to live with the secret I told you. Gong Yi smiled mysteriously. Terumi-May looked at him puzzled, then why don't you talk about your conditions? It's very simple, you copied the Suiten water style ninjutsu from Kurigakure village after you were in the top 5 generations of Mizukage. No matter what is low level or high level, I want both. What? Terumi-May's flowers are pale. 5 generations Mizukage, what are you kidding? Also, why should I give you our village's ninjutsu? But after refuting, she suddenly realized that, compared with this condition, the secret in Gong Yi's mouth may be more confusing. Biting on Kiba, Terumi-May said in a low voice, now Yagura controls the overall situation in the village. I usually have to be careful when I do things. How can I become a 5th generation Mizukage? Gong Yi leaned over and pressed his face to hers. Terumi-May was a little unnatural with the heat she exhaled. Yagura, he's just a puppet being controlled by demonic illusion. Your entire village of Kurigakure is just a tool in the hands of others, and even attacking Konoha is just doing things for them. Terumi-May sat on the ground dumbfounded, her long yuhi-colored hair hanging down on the ground, slumped and powerless. What are you kidding? What a joke. Chapter 215. Quartet Vibration. Some things are like the window paper on the heart, as long as someone points out a hole. Then the infinite light will pour into the heart one by one. Terumi-May thought that Karataki Yagura's temperament had changed greatly during this period of time. Especially the strange retreat from the Iwagakure battlefield, she felt inappropriate. Obviously at that time Iwagakure experienced several battles, and its strength was greatly reduced. He also killed 3 generations of Reikage, and damaged many strong men. In this case, the village of Kurigakure and the village of Kumogakure joined forces to attack the village of Iwagakure. If it was just that, it could also be said that he cared about the lives of his fellow villagers. Is a Mizukage thing to do. Then, the blood follower ninja was persecuted aggressively, forcing the strong in the village to either defect or hide. This is unreasonable. Not only that, but this time, the sudden proposal to attack Konoha and start a war is also full of doubts. This is definitely not like a shadow of a village. What should be done? If you were in the Mizukage position, what would you do to recuperate and restore the strength of the village? Instead of closing the country, actively establish cooperative relations with other countries and conduct trade exchanges. In addition, it is to expand the source of income of the village, accept a large number of tasks, and arrange some strong people to the positions they should be in, so as to give full play to their value. Just when she was speculating, doubting, and in a daze, Gong Yi patted her pretty face. Do you still want to die? Terumi-May turned her head, avoiding Gong Yi's slightly frivolous movements. I don't want to die, but I don't want to make a deal with you either. Oh. Gong Yi's voice is interesting. Terumi-May smiled charmingly, you have already told me the secret, how can I cooperate with you? Go back and gather people to deal with Yagura. Gong Yi touched her beautiful face with his hand, but you are still there, my hand. Then you killed. Terumi-May can't go on, she really doesn't want to die now. When I think of the village being controlled by Yagura, controlled by that. The mastermind behind the scenes, countless companions are like dolls, doing things for others. She just wants to rush back, launch a coup d'etat, and kill Karataki Yagura. Don't want to die? Then cooperate with me well, anyway. This matter has nothing to lose to you. Maybe it can help you to ascend to the position of the 5th generation Mizukage. Terumi-mei looked at him bitterly. Then how do you ensure that after letting me go, I will not abide by the terms of cooperation? Until then, if you want to kill me again, it won't be so easy. Gong Yi let go of his hand and said calmly, you just need to promise. As for whether you will fulfill your promise in the future, I believe you will agree when you return to the village. Finished speaking, he no longer had any nostalgia, and floated away with Gong Ling. Terumi-mei stood up, patted the dust on her body, and watched the man go away with a complicated expression. Turned around and saw the bodies of the 3 subordinates on the ground, his mood was even more complicated. With this kind of demon is really annoying. Master, will she keep her promise? Gong Ling fluttered her long eyelashes, blinked her big eyes, and followed Gong Yi curiously. Gong Yi glanced back at the direction of Kurigakure village, and the corner of his mouth twitched. She won't break the contract, and she won't dare not. Gong Yi said this with confidence, and it was true that when Terumi-mei buried her body and returned to the village, she was stunned when she saw the ruins. A middle-aged ninja wearing an eye patch ran up. Terumi-mei, you're back. Ching, what's going on? Ching said in a low voice. It was done by Konoha's dark blue demon. He was alone. That's about it. After listening to what happened, Terumi-mei only felt that all her strength was drained from her body. What will he do if I go back on it? Stepping on the rubble, she lowered her body and closed her eyelids to a dying Kurigakure. The devil-like curves of the delicate body were slowly shaking. Will he do it again? That devil! How could he do such a thing to my village and make a deal with me like nothing happened? Terumi-mei stood up, eyes bloody Yuhi. Blue, what about Yagura? Ching said in surprise. Mizukage-sama, he. Don't call him Mizukage. He doesn't deserve it. Terumi-mei, you. Come with me, first treat the surviving companions, and call your subordinates. I have something to tell you tomorrow. Terumi-mei walked firmly on the ruins of the village. Some decisions had already taken root in her mind. Even making deals with demons is like being controlled by puppets. 10 days later, information about Kurigakure village has been put on the desks of the high-level officials of the major shinobi villages one after another. Seeing that crazy, unimaginable information, everyone was shocked. Kingdom of the Wind, Kazekage of Sunagakure village has just walked out of the daimyo's palace with a group of subordinates. An intelligence ninja ran up to him with a pale face. Rasa snorted coldly, in a hurry, what a formality. The man lowered his head and handed a piece of information to Rasa. Rasa looked at it casually. Just looking at it, the casualness on his face disappeared, and it became more and more gloomy. Boom! The surrounding floor shattered. Rasa raised his head and roared, "Dark Blue Devil!" In the village of Iwagakure, Onoki leaned on his waist. While talking about getting old, he browsed the job content that he was going to watch today. When he saw the information sent back from Kurigakure, he frowned. This was a few days ago. Lois replies respectfully, 10 days ago. 10 days ago. Onoki squinted. Yuhi, rosacea sucked the air gently, that's when Konoha retreats. Shaking his head, Onoki sighed with emotion. It's really terrifying. It's so courageous and knowledgeable. Lois was puzzled and looked at him suspiciously. Onoki smiled and explained. Using Konoha's retreat as a bait, the village of Kurigakure sent a large army into the country of fire. A result, the Kurigakure village's rear defense was empty, and he took advantage of it to enter the village and kill the village. Not only that, Konoha's army of ninjas, which has reached the border between the land of fire and the land of thunder, can guard against the Kumogakure army. Table, Onoki laughed loudly. This can be said to kill 3 birds with 1 stone. No. Onoki pondered for a while. And his eyes lit up. This is a feat that kills 4 birds with 1 stone. With this battle, Gong Yi has completely built up his reputation, and he is no longer a genius of the younger generation. It is an attitude that is truly superior to ordinary ninjas, and has an equal dialogue with the cage-level powerhouses in each village. After this battle, if he waits until that fellow Sarutobi Hiruzen abdicates, Konoha's fifth Hokage will basically be him. Wonderful. Lois opened his mouth, a little shocked. In this battle, there are so many famous people in it. It's just a 16-year-old young man. He really thought about so much. If Lois knows, Gong Yi will. He was eavesdropping on him back then. When he was a conspiratorial teenager, maybe he would feel even more incredible. It really is a different person, and the world is turned upside down. And on the side of the Land of Thunder, in the village of Kumogakure, the fourth generation of Reikage, standing in front of the window, looks very excited. As expected of the dark blue devil who fought against me back then, not only has his strength not fallen, but he is so powerful. It seems that this battle, I have to personally go out. Behind him, the secretary and several elders looked at him helplessly. Lord Reikage, you are the shadow of a village, don't act rashly. I turned to look over, and slapped the desk. What are you afraid of? Killer Bee is still in the village. Regardless of the flying sawdust around him, I said impatiently, Reikage and Tenten are at their wits' end when they are the five. I am a little envious of the dark blue devil, who has no worries about killing them, and there is no need to worry about anything. His secretary, Azabuyi, said calmly, if this kind of thing happened in our Kumogakure village, you wouldn't feel envious, Lord Reikage. Chapter 216. Four Kingdoms Pressure, 5th More. Forced into other people's villages, released tailed beasts, causing countless civilians, and the ninjas suffered heavy casualties. It's not just about war anymore. Conceivable that after this battle, the Kurigakure troops on the border of the Fire Country will definitely not be able to fight with peace of mind. Many ninjas have to rush back to see if their family members are still alive. And most importantly, after this battle, the prestige of the village of Kurigakure will be reduced to the lowest level, even lower than that of the village of Sunagakure. Will not give too much consideration to Kurigakure village when they issue tasks in the future. Will be a huge blow to a ninja village whose main source of income is to do tasks. No village dares to bear such a blow. After listening to the advice of the secretary, the fourth generation Reikage resisted the urge to go to the battlefield. If Gong Yi does this again, there will only be one cage-level strongman, Killer Bee, in the village, which will give Gong Yi another chance to destroy the village and kill. You know, Gong Yi vs. Kurigakure, 3220. Was in the village. It was in front of the fourth generation Mizukage and the six-tailed Jinchuriki column force. Even so, the six-tailed Jinchuiki column force was beheaded by Gong Yi. I thinks that he is much stronger than Yagura, and doesn't think Killer Bee is stronger than Jinchuriki column Liu. But if you play Gong Yi one-on-one, Gong Yi doesn't. If you want to fight with them, you just want to destroy the village and kill people. They alone can't stop them. Mabui said calmly. Master Reikage can't go to the battlefield, neither can Master Killer Bee. But we can send your second right hand, Darui, to the front. In addition, Lord Dodai is strong and famous, and he can become the commander of the army. The fourth Reikage hesitated. Although I trust Darui very much, he is still young, and I am afraid that he is not the opponent of the dark blue demon. As a commander, Dodai-sensei is not good to end the battle, so there is no one who can restrain the dark blue demon on the battlefield. Smiled slightly, have you forgotten that we still have a Jinchuriki column force? Yugito can control the power of the tail beast very well, and with her strength, she can resist the dark blue demon without any problem. Even if there is a problem, there is still me. Azabui, in addition to Reikage's secretary, she is also the famous Jonin, master of Kumogakure village, who can send any object and person to a designated place instantly. If the two-tailed Yugito can't stop the dark blue demon, just make sure the dark blue demon is on the battlefield. can instantly activate the technique of sending the gods to send Reikage to the past, forming a 2-on-1 trend. I have to say that the secretary who can control Reikage's temper, Azabui, is a woman full of wisdom. Darui, who was standing beside him, smiled uninhibitedly. Actually, I think, if we want to restrain the dark blue devil's shot, we still have a way. Oh. This time, he has gone too far. When Gongyi arrived at the front line and joined forces with Ino Shikacho, there was no time for repairs. Anbu ninja who set out from the village has already come to him. What village ordered Lord Gongyi to return to the village immediately? Nara Shikaku changed color suddenly, patted the table and said loudly, Master Gongyi is now the commander of the army, how can we resist the Kumogakure attack when he leaves? The Anbu ninja below, bowed his head and dared not speak. He was only in charge of conveying the order, and as for the result, he did not need to worry about it. And now, there is no chance for him to explain. Gongyi, who was sitting at the top, looked at the secret letter with a cold expression on his face. You go out first. Yes, Lord Gongyi. After Anbu ninja left, Gongyi flicked his fingers and the letter flew to Shikaku's desk. Teacher, take a look. Nara Shikaku picked it up hesitantly, looked at it for a while, and looked surprised. In the end, he could only sigh and look at Gongyi with mixed feelings. You did go too far, but I didn't expect that it would provoke condemnation from the 4 great ninja villages. Gongyi sneered, he had already read the contents of the letter. Situation is not complicated, mainly the 4 major ninja villages, jointly issued a statement condemning Gongyi this time for the massacre of ordinary civilians. Means are cruel and inhumane. Although there is no explicit rule that ninjas cannot attack ordinary civilians, this is a default rule. Otherwise, a ninja who has mastered chakra can easily kill hundreds of ordinary people. This kind of established rule can protect the lives of ordinary people, allowing ordinary people to cultivate the land for the ninjas, cultivate food, exchange trade, make daily necessities, etc. Yes, Gongyi went a little too far this time. The first battle in the village of Kurigakure, the civilians who were affected, at least several thousand people. There are a lot of them, all of them died in a large-scale ninjutsu bombardment. Especially after the 6 tails were released by him, the 6 tails who cut off one of their tails, violently rioted in the village, and even more casualties. If they don't do this, will the Kurigakure army return to the country obediently? According to the letter, the Kingdom of Thunder has sent condemnation to the Kingdom of Fire, and the village of Kumogakure has promised that it will not launch during the period when Konoha punishes Gongyi. War, coupled with the pressure from several other countries, Ninja Village forced the country of Fire to hold Konoha accountable. 3 generations of Hokage and a group of high-level officials had to order Gongyi to return to the village. In fact, in Gongyi's view, the purpose of killing chickens and setting an example by himself has been achieved. Those villages began to fear themselves. Who does not care about the lives of ordinary civilians and has no rules to restrain them will be a huge threat to a ninja village. The war with the village of Kurigakure, from this point of view, has been won. As for transferring myself back to Gongyi, I am afraid that there are Danzo and the 3 generations of Hokage inside. I don't want to see their power grow too fast. Otherwise, how could they call themselves back? War, benevolence and humanity have never been mentioned. Teacher, I will leave you on the battlefield. Nara Shikaku took a deep breath. Don't worry, I can block Kumogakure's troops without the opponent using cage-level powerhouses. I'll go back to the village right away, and I'll help you dispatch a group of reinforcements. Gongyi said lightly, and his footsteps were already walking outside the tent. When he walked out of the tent, Kakashi waited for Anbu for a long time. Name, it is an escort, but in fact, it has a bit of surveillance. Gongyi's face. Black-robed figure suddenly appeared in front of him. Go back to the village. Yes, master. Gongling nodded, and a crisp voice came from under the black robe. countless Konoha ninjas, the group left the army station unhurriedly. When 1-6 those ninjas, from Nara Shikaku's mouth, learned that Gong Yi did not return to the village as a hero this time, but returned as a responsible person. An uproar. In their opinion, Lord Gong Yi, it was a heroic feat of killing a village with one person. There is no merit, and there is hard work. Angry crowd. Nara Shikaku narrowed his eyes slightly. Yamanaka Inoichi leaned over. You don't control the real. Nara Shikaku snorted. This is a stupid move by the top of the village, why should I control it? Yamanaka Inoichi sighed. The village hasn't recovered from the Third War and the Kyubi, Nine Tails turmoil. The 4 major ninja villages are putting pressure on us. We should really bow our heads. Nara Shikaku stared at him. Do you think that the 3 wars are over? This time, the war with Kurigakure and Kumogakure is not a continuation of the 3 wars. In war, I, Konoha, must not bow my head. Gong Yi made it. Nothing wrong. Chapter 217. Get out of here. Did Gong Yi do something wrong? No matter what others think, but at least in Uzuki Ugao's view, Gong Yi is absolutely right. He is a hero. It is Gong Yi's credit for putting down the Battle of Kurigakure so quickly, and this cannot be erased. Great work. It's just that when she looked at Kakashi, Asakurato and the others beside her, an angry look flashed in her eyes. These people, in the previous discussion, even felt that Lord Gong Yi had gone too far. Don't they forget how many Konoha villages died during the Kyubi, Nine Tails rebellion? Ordinary civilians. War, it was you and I who hurt each other. Whoever has the stronger endurance will win. Perhaps sensing Uzuki Ugao's angry gaze, Kakashi turned his face away and did not dare to look again. Over the years, he has been around 3 generations of Hokage, taught by words and deeds, and many extreme personalities have changed. And more, agree with the concept of the 3 generations of Hokage. This makes him feel very dissatisfied with. Gong Yi does not regard human life as one thing. Strong, with power, should protect the weak, not harm the weak. Turning his face away, Kakashi's gaze always subconsciously fell on the black-robed figure in front of him. He always felt an inexplicable sense of familiarity, and whenever he saw that person, there was always a sense of guilt in his heart. It seems that he owes him something. This life, Kakashi has never loved anyone, and has few friends, but he owes a lot of people. Didn't take good care of Rin, he didn't fulfill his promise to Obito, and he didn't help the teacher Namikaze Minato when he was in distress. However, why does he feel guilty about a stranger he has never met? When he saw the gate of Konoha village, Gong Yi slowed down. After tidying up his white robes, he walked in slowly. On the long street at the entrance of the village, there were 2 rows of villagers. Gong Yi walked over quietly, countless eyes were watching him, and the atmosphere was solemn. Kakashi, Uzuki Ugao and other Anbu held their breath, but felt extremely stressed. When Gong Yi walked out of the end of the crowd, his ears moved. Behind him, a loud voice suddenly sounded. Lord Gong Yi, Gai Spin. Lord Gong Yi, Gai Spin. Lord Gong Yi, Gai Spin. The corner of Gong Yi's mouth slightly tilted. It's not that he didn't catch anything. In the shade outside the crowd, the brothers Hyuga Hiyashi and Hyuga Hazashi couldn't help smiling. But they didn't waste them spreading the news and agitating the people. Presumably this one move was enough to show Gong Yi his inclination. Yes, they have begun to bet. In the eyes of the Hyuga family, the 3rd generation of Hokage is getting old, and the 5th generation of Hokage will be born soon. Hokage candidate they value is Gong Yi. To do this kind of thing now is to show your favor to Gong Yi, as long as you reveal a thing or 2 afterwards. Gong Yi should receive this affection. In Hokage's office, Sarutobi Hiruzen was stunned when he heard the loud cheers from the village. He picked up fell subconsciously. Is it too hard for me to suppress Gong Yi? Obviously I can't do it. Gong Yi doesn't. To take care of these things, he only knows that he really did nothing wrong. From the perspective of the Konoha villagers, the fact that the war was settled by Gong Yi alone reduced the risk of their loved ones dying. This is a heroic feat. How could it be the sinner who was ordered back, responsible? Squeak. The wooden door was pushed open, and Gong Yi stood at the door. Look at that. Vicissitudes of the old man. Sarutobi Hiruzen looked at him silently and stood up. Gong Yi smiled, pointed to the village's long-lasting cheers, and shrugged. The village, treat me well. Don't know if I'm really thanking the villagers, or I'm mocking the high-level people, anyway. This sentence is quite harsh to Sarutobi Hiruzen. Sarutobi Hiruzen murmured, not knowing what to say, and finally sighed, go home and rest for a while. Gong Yi laughed and walked away without saying a word. Danzo, get out of here. A loud shout resounded in the headquarters of the route. Dozens of ninjas flew out vigorously and surrounded Gong Yi in the center. Gong Yi snorted, the 8 inner gates opened. Raise your foot. Crash. Boom. A dull voice sounded, the ground suddenly shattered into countless pieces, and the ninja at the root was unstable. Just as they were trying to stand firm, they suddenly felt a tingling pain in their brains, as if someone was stabbing their brains with needles. Gong Yi glanced around, looked at the pale-faced root ninjas, and said coldly, I'm afraid you forgot, besides the identity of the root ninjas, you are still my Konoha ninjas. How dare you disrespect me? A group of ninjas were speechless and looked at each other, both shocking Gong Yi's strength and feeling a sense of contradiction in their hearts. They are all brainwashed ninjas. Loyal to Konoha, loyal to Danzo. But Gong Yi is the director of Konoha Hospital and the commander of the Kurigakure War. In their capacity, they must show respect to Gong Yi. Gong Yi, why do you care about these juniors? Danzo was standing on the steps with a cane, looking down at Gong Yi. Gong Yi grinned, raised his hand, and shot the black spear like thunder. Instant ninjutsu. Danzo's face changed greatly. He wanted Hand Seal to resist, but it was too late. He could only pull a root ninja and block in front of him. PFF'd. The spear went through, and that ninja was already dead. What do you mean? Gong Yi stared at him with cold eyes. I want to ask you, what do you mean when I'm not in the village? What you do behind your back, I think I can't guess. Konoha executives ordered him to come back. This is definitely not a decision made by the 3rd generation. Indecisive old man, alone. Among them, it would be absolutely impossible without Danzo fanning the flames. Danzo was furious. You dare to attack the elders just by guessing, are you trying to betray Konoha? How many ninjas in the village know about your elder status? Gong Yi sneered, and the golden long sword appeared in his hand. Function's jade-like face, a cold light, he stepped forward and walked towards Shimura Danzo step by step. How can I betray Konoha if I shoot you? I have reason to suspect that you are taking the benefit of Kumogakure village or even other shinobi villages and instigating the 3 generations of Hokage to force me to leave the front line. Today I really killed you. Even if it were announced, the villagers would only stand by me. Shimura Danzo bit Kiba's teeth, looking gloomy. His life, he was in darkness, and no one would know no matter how much he did for Konoha. Gong Yi was charged with this kind of crime before he died. It would be more uncomfortable than killing him. However, Gong Yi has hit the door. If he still shows weakness, then he is not Shimura Danzo. Futon, wind style, vacuum sphere. A huge wind blade flew out, and with a single stroke of Gong Yi's long sword, it shattered directly. Just when the two were about to break out into a more violent conflict, a low anger sounded from a distance. Enough. Shoo. A figure suddenly appeared beside the two of them, a ghostly figure, accompanied by countless black crows flapping their wings and flying away. Whoa, 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 the crow's ugly, clumsy voice sounded. The voices of young people spread in the ears of Gong Yi and Danzo 320. Lord Gong Yi, Elder Danzo, don't do anything. Lord Hokage has arrived. Sarutobi Hiruzen suddenly appeared in the middle of the field, blocking Gong Yi and Danzo, the young man before, stood behind him. Gloomy look, Sarutobi Hiruzen shouted angrily, "What are you guys doing? Are you still, take me, Hokage, in your eyes?" Danzo didn't speak, but Gong Yi sneered. "You see the villain as a gossip, but I can't rub the sand in my eyes. Gong Yi, watch your identity." Sarutobi Hiruzen clenched his fists hard. Gong Yi didn't give in and said loudly, "3 generations of Hokage, please also reflect on your previous order to call me back, whether it was right or wrong." Danzo said gloomily, "The village's orders, right or wrong, are not up to you to question." Gong Yi snorted coldly, and the long sword of golden light disappeared from his hand. His hands were interlaced behind him, and his robe was swung. "This war, the follow-up results, will let you know whether it is right or wrong. At that time, don't come and beg me." After speaking, he turned to leave. Just eyes fell on the young man behind Sarutobi Hiruzen. Uchiha Shisui, a genius who is not for his own use, but firmly follows behind the 3 generations of Hokage. Suddenly, Gong Yi smiled without hesitation. "Danzo, do you still remember the proposal I gave you 3 years ago?" After saying this, Gong Yi walked away. There was only a group of people behind, with gloomy expressions on their faces. "Thanks to the big brother for the reward of more than 4,000 points, I really appreciate it. Giving me a headache lately. Originally, I had tens of thousands of words in manuscript, but recently, all of them have been used to update, which is why I can't update it. S very uncomfortable, oh, it's uncomfortable, I can't even speak." Chapter 218. The Second Disciple. The Uchiha family will never use it for themselves. This is determined by the roots flowing in their blood. Mention Gong Yi, even Konoha, even Uchiha Madara, cannot control the Uchiha clan. This clan only fights for their own interests. When a situation that goes against their common interests occurs, even the ancestor of Uchiha Madara, they dare to abandon it. But Uchiha's power is so powerful and so easy to create miracles. Uchiha Shisui, a mere 13-year-old, dared to stand between Gong Yi and Danzo, showing the strength of Uchiha. 4. This kind of weapon that is not under his control, but is extremely dangerous. There is only one way to deal with him. Destroy it. Gong Yi can no longer tolerate Uchiha, not to mention the grievances with Fugaku. Just to clear the obstacles on his way, Uchiha can no longer exist in the world. But Uchiha tolerates no. Gong Yi can accommodate the Hyuga clan. After returning home, Gong Yi rested for 2 days, and the invitations from the Hyuga family had already been delivered to his house. Celebrating Hyuga Hinata's 3rd birthday. Gong Yi smiled. Time flies so fast. It has been more than 2 years since the 48th year of Konoha in October to the 51st year of Konoha. My own little Naruto also started running around in the village. And Hyuga Hinata, a few months older than Naruto, is now 3 years old. Accepting the invitation, Gong Yi replied that he was on time for the appointment. Gong Yi sees very clearly about this invitation. Then, celebrating the birthday of the daughter of the head of the Hyuga clan, it's more about strengthening the alliance with Gong Yi. Over the years, the Hyuga family has been trying to build a good relationship with Gong Yi. In the front, there is the origin of Hyuga Kionzong, and in the back, Hyuga Hazashi. Hyuga Hiyashi is constantly pulling in, and the sealing technique of the caged bird is perfected. The Hyuga family did last time really made Gong Yi very satisfied. He has no reason not to go. The next day, Gong Yi stepped into the gate of the Hyuga family's clan land on time. It is still the same simple and elegant, but full of luxurious atmosphere of the big family decoration style. This is not the first time he has come, but every time he comes, he has witnessed a major event in the Hyuga family. Hyuga Hazashi gets married and gets closer to various ethnic groups. Of the bird in the cage controls the family members. And this time, it will be announced that Gong Yi and the Hyuga clan have officially formed an alliance. At the banquet, looking at the little girl, who was carved with pink and jade, Gong Yi was in a trance. It has been a few years since the beginning of the plot. Witnessing Naruto growing up, seeing Hinata shyly hiding behind him, and occasionally encountering Uchiha Itachi carrying his younger brother around the village. The future Konoha 12 Little Strong are thriving one by one. And this time, what role will he play? Hyuga Hazashi and Hyuga Hiyashi stood outside the door with expressions on their faces. How to choose, big brother, you decide. Hiyashi was so tangled that he invited Gong Yi to a banquet today, but he actually wanted to get closer. But this inconvenient connection is actually very fragile. He prefers to rely on a rising star with a closer relationship. But Hazashi suggested that Hinata should worship Gong Yi as his teacher, which made him a little embarrassed. Hinata is someone who will be inherited and cultivated by main clan in the future. She follows Gong Yi, which may not be good. Hiyashi took a deep breath and patted his brother on the shoulder. Hazashi, let Neji go. Hazashi was anxious. Big brother, you are confused. How can Neji's identity be comparable to that of Hinata? If you really want to have a good relationship with Gong Yi, Hinata is the best student. Of course Hiyashi knew this, but he felt that anything should be double insured. Hinata is at home, with her own guidance, to acquire the main clan heritage. Neji follows Gong Yi, and can also get closer. Even if an accident happened later, Gong Yi did not become the 5th generation of Hokage, or was suppressed by the top management. Big deal for the Hyuga family, just abandon Neji. I've decided, just Neji. Neji is 4 years old and is about to go to ninja school. In the family, the inheritance is too profound, and according to the rules of the family, he cannot learn it. If I follow Gong Yi, maybe I can make a difference and add another strong man for me, Hyuga. Hyuga Hazashi has no objection to these words. In fact, he prefers to teach his son personally, but it should be better to follow Gong Yi. After all, Gong Yi is now the top powerhouse in the village. When the banquet was over, Hyuga Hazashi led Hyuga Neji to Gong Yi's side. At the dinner table before, they laughed and put forward the idea of letting Gong Yi accept a disciple in the family. Gong Yi did not refuse. The children of the Hyuga clan, if they were cultivated well, their potential would definitely be higher than the Aburame Kaiwei that he had collected. After all, Hyuga is also a descendant of Otsutsuki. Looking at Hyuga Neji with clear eyes, calm expression and a hint of curiosity, Gong Yi reached out and touched his head. Uncle Gong Yi. Neji shouted obediently. Hyuga Hazashi quickly corrected. In the future, you will have to call Master Gong Yi your teacher, you know. Well, hello teacher. The child changed his mind quickly, and he didn't have any complicated thoughts. He did what the adults told him to do. It is difficult for Gong Yi to hook up Hyuga Neji, who is pure-hearted now, with that handsome boy who is full of resentment in the future. He nodded. Neji and I are also related, and I have no choice but to accept him as a disciple. However, he is also a child of the Hyuga family. Some families need to learn ninjutsu. I hope you will not be stingy. The two Hyuga Hiyashi brothers looked at each other and nodded tacitly. 3 days after the appointment, Hyuga Neji went to Gong Yi's house to receive the first instruction, and Gong Yi left the Hyuga tribe with a smile. The alliance between Gong Yi and the Hyuga family, after accepting Hyuga Neji as a disciple, is truly achieved. And this news, not unexpectedly, reached the ears of Konoha executives. Kaharu Udatane and Homura Mitokado were sitting in the Hokage office, watching Sarutobi Hiruzen smoking a cigarette with a frown, and the two also felt helpless. Gong Yi is now doing things more and more. No scruples. Yeah, I recklessly entered the village of Kurigakure before, and later threatened Danzo, and now I am even more reckless to befriend the Hyuga family. He has no regard for us at all. Sarutobi Hiruzen raised his head. How do you know? He only attracted the Hyuga family. Hi. Hiruzen, your King Zhao means. Sarutobi Hiruzen pushes out the intelligence letter in his hand. Returned from the front, many ninjas in the Ino-Shika-Cho unit strongly demanded that Gong Yi be returned to the battlefield. 4. This matter, sensitive, not just the Hokage series. Shimura Danzo is in a hurry now than anyone else. Danzo couldn't sit still after another fusion of Hashirama cells, but backlash. Gong Yi's power is getting bigger and bigger now, and the cooperation between himself and him, the primary and secondary status, is constantly shrinking. Once Gong Yi really steps into the position of Hokage, the resources of the master in his hands are just a joke. When Gong Yi arrives, he can ask for anything and everything. Bringing a few strong roots, Shimura Danzo bit Kiba and stepped into the palace. When he saw Gong Yi and saw his eyes, he was stunned. Uchiha Fei, I recommend a book to my friends, The Green Valley Deku of Infinite Return. Brothers who are interested can go and read it, as well as sisters. Chapter 219. Have you brought what I want? Gong Yi sat cross-legged in the center of the living room, a pair of 3-tomo Sharingan, slowly turning in his eyes. Shimura Danzo was very surprised and waved his hand, and the ninja under him brought a sealed thick box. Part of the Hashirama cell, in it. Danzo put his hand on the box and looked at Gong Yi warily, but you have really figured out a way to fuse Hashirama cells and suppress phagocytosis. Gong Yi smiled, a mass of chakra poured out of his palm, and then pressed it onto the table. In Danzo's horrified eyes, a small green tree slowly emerged from that table. Mokuden, wood style. Danzo lost his voice. You have already mastered Mokuden, wood style. Gong Yi shook his head. I'm not even a master, but I've already seen the door. So, are you going to make this deal? Danzo no longer hesitated and pushed the box directly in front of Gong Yi. Tell me. The answer is actually quite simple. Gong Yi pointed to his eyes and said slowly, Hashirama cells are too powerful, and there are very few body cells that can compete with him. But according to legend, Uchiha Madara and Senju Hashirama were enemies all their lives, and the last battle was one death and one serious injury. Seeing that Uchiha Madara's power is not inferior to Senju Hashirama, and Uchiha Madara's power is derived from the genetic Kekkei Genkei, Sharingan. Danzo took a deep breath and looked into Gong Yi's eyes. He didn't ask how Gong Yi got it. For people like them, the process is often not important. The purpose is achieved, the result is perfect. 28 That is the most important. You mean, with the power of Sharingan, suppress Hashirama cells? Yes, but it also has to be used in conjunction with the use of inhibitory agents. Sharingan will not be able to help in the initial integration stage. Gong Yi smiled lightly, spreading his hands. Gong Ling, see off. Black-robed figure appeared in front of Danzo. Danzo's pupils shrank, and he felt a hint of danger on this petite black-robed man. When did Gong Yi subdue such a strong man? Thinking of Gong Yi's recent actions and the tip of the iceberg he showed, Danzo became more and more alert. When he left the palace's territory, Danzo looked back subconsciously. Check. Go back and check the true identity of the man in black robe. I want to know who he or she is. Lord Hokage, I have a question. It is inconvenient to ask if I don't know. Sarutobi Hiruzen was surprised. Kakashi, if it's a question about your practice, you can ask it casually. 4. Kakashi, Sarutobi Hiruzen has long since let go of his worries that he is the son of White Fang. Hatake Kakashi's performance over the years, under his own words and deeds, has begun to completely think for the sake of the village, and has also realized the will of fire. On some knowledge, and Sarutobi Hiruzen is generous with it. If Gong Yi knew, he might just laugh at himself. The 8 inner gates on the sealed book, he also took the step back and proposed to let Sarutobi Hiruzen accept him as a disciple. However, Sarutobi Hiruzen refused directly because of his old age and busy work. He treats Kakashi now, but like he said, he lacks time and energy. Kakashi shook his head. It's not a matter of practice. I just wanted to ask you about director Gong Yi. Sarutobi Hiruzen frowned and said, if it's irrelevant, I'll answer you. Kakashi thought for a while, then asked cautiously, Director Gong Yi has a man shrouded in a black robe who looks like a guard. This person a ninja from the village? Sarutobi Hiruzen was surprised. Has Gong Yi started training guard ninjas for him? Not very clear, but it should be strong and give me a sense of familiarity. If that's the case, I think it's a ninja in the village. It's powerful, so you can say this kind of evaluation. There seem to be not many such talents in the village. Sarutobi Hiruzen was full of doubts, and then photographed people to get the relevant household registration information. For the shadow of a village to know the specific situation of every ninja in the village. Often only the up-and-coming ones will be noticed by them. After checking the household registration information, Sarutobi Hiruzen frowned. Gong Ling War orphan, who grew up in the same orphanage with Gong Yi, did not separate until he was 5 years old. Continue to look down, but the more you look, the more flawed it becomes. He shook his head when Sarutobi Hiruzen stopped reading. Obviously, the identity information of that ninja named Gong Ling is forged. And to be able to do this, in addition to the ninjas of the relevant departments, Gong Yi, the director of Konoha Hospital, can also do it. After all, many ninjas in the village were born from the hospital, and the household registration information will also pass through the hospital's hand. If Gong Yi wants to change the identity of a dead ninja and press it on the person, Kakashi said, it is very easy. But this kind of thing can be big or small. If you really want to investigate it, it is just to dig out the identity of that person and expel him from the village. If he did, he would offend Gong Yi. Now, after being ordered to return to the village, Gong Yi has become dissatisfied with the Hokage lineage, and even attracted other family forces. On my side, if I go too far, I'm sure there will be some trouble. At least, Sarutobi Hiruzen doesn't want to see things like Orochimaru happen again. Konoha can't stand the turmoil. Call Kakashi in, and Sarutobi Hiruzen gives him an answer. That person is a ninja from the village, named Gong Ling, who was raised in the same orphanage as Gong Yi. However, she is withdrawn and not many people know her identity. Getting such a specious answer, Kakashi hummed. No further investigation. As for the association from the name, sorry, in the Hokage world, the pronunciation of Rin and Ling is different. He really didn't think of Rin Nohara. Originally, there were many ninjas hiding their heads and faces in the village, Anbu, the roots, and some secretly cultivated by the family. In the village, Danzo's side, also a few days later, got similar information. He also made a similar judgment to the third generation of Hokage, a similar treatment, but he was a little more vigilant about Gong Ling. After all, he is a mysterious person who can make him feel dangerous. A speculation about Gong Ling's identity disappeared in this private investigation. Gong Yi didn't pay attention to these things. What he is most concerned about now is the Hashirama cell protoplasm. It can proliferate, divide, and cultivate more progeny Hashirama cells, so that he can fully fuse the protoplasm. With this thing son, he is basically no longer subject to Danzo and can do fusion work on his own. Looking at the petri dish, another batch of progeny Hashirama cells were cultured. In Gong Yi's eyes, divine light flickered. The way he gave Danzo was actually a trap, a trap. The power of Sharingan can indeed suppress Hashirama cells. But that has to be at least Mangekyo-level Sharingan. Ordinary Sharingan alone won't do much unless you have a lot of Sharingan. If Danzo really goes this route, then he will have to face the Uchiha family. As for himself, Gong Yi smiled. He took a different road. From Konoha 47 to now Konoha 51. 4 years have passed. My fusion progress has reached 90%. It can even stimulate some Hashirama cells to simulate Mokudan, wood-style chakra. Gong Yi muttered to himself, but it's not enough. This is just a simulation. To really use Mokuten, wood-style ninjutsu, I have to push the fusion progress to 100%. As the fusion progress of Hashirama cells is getting higher and higher, the subsequent fusion effect is getting better and better. It will only take a few months at most. He can be perfectly fused, with a body comparable to Senju Hashirama, or even stronger. This is the first batch, and then another batch of daughter cells should be enough to supply. Gong Yi is looking forward to it. After the real fusion is completed, what will happen to your body? Phailu reminds you. An LT, otherwise block collection IP. Chapter 220. Do not disturb. Next morning, Gong Yi pushed open the courtyard gate. A little boy stood at the door. Come alone. Well, teacher. Father said that I am 4 years old and can come to the teacher by myself, so he didn't send me. Gong Yi smiled and patted Neji's head. Hyuga Hazashi taught the children, it's pretty good. Not too doting, but advocates cultivating his independent character. Just that when Gong Yi touched Neji's forehead, he raised his black hair and saw the blue stripes. Gong Yi pursed his lips. When did this happen? Like a frightened rabbit, Hyuga Neji nervously pulled her hair down and covered her forehead. He lowered his head and murmured, last night. Looking at the child's faint fear of ridicule and fragile mind, Gong Yi let go of his hand. Do you know what that means? Neji shook his head blankly. The grade is still young. What does it mean for the Hyuga branch to be a bird in a cage? Gong Yi was silent for a moment, then smiled. Beckoned. Come in. Neji nodded quickly, followed Gong Yi's footsteps excitedly and entered the courtyard. Compared with the luxurious and heavy Hyuga family land, Gong Yi's house has a little less heritage. But it's better than simple and quiet. Children don't understand this. They just find that there is no fun, and they are not very interested. Teacher, what are you going to teach me? Gong Yi thought for a while. Is it possible to refine chakra? Hyuga Neji nodded. Yes, when I was 3 years old, my father taught me. Hearing this answer, Gong Yi didn't. Sighed. This is probably the cheapness of a ninja from a big family. Ordinary commoners, at least after the age of 5, enter a ninja school before they can be taught the superficial chakra refining technique. But family ninjas can come into contact with these things at an early age. It can be said that at the starting line, it is a lot ahead of others. However, there are pros and cons to this. Next, before entering the ninja school, chakra is not allowed to be refined. Hyuga Neji opened her mouth wide. Ah, teacher, won't you teach me ninjutsu? Without refining chakra, it is naturally inconvenient to perform ninjutsu. Hearing Gong Yi say this, he thought that Gong Yi was not willing to teach him. Gong Yi shook his head without much explanation. Follow the course I designed for you. Now, you will lead 10 laps around Gongji. Hyuga Neji is a little dejected, but Gong Yi is his teacher and he listens to everything he says. Had to go outside the house and start running. Looking at Hyuga Neji, who had no interest, Gong Yi smiled and shook his head. Medical ninjutsu, the more sophisticated he is, the more he understands the structure of the human body and the development of the human body. After treating many ninjas, Gong Yi realized a problem. Refining chakra too early is certainly a start, but it is also very harmful to the body. Chakra itself is the fusion of mental energy and physical energy. When a child is growing up, the physical energy is used to refine chakra, which will affect development. After all, not everyone has Gong Yi's early recovery technique. In his view, 5-year-old began to refine chakra, a very reasonable threshold. Just like in the previous life of Washa, some people who practiced martial arts are often small. They will not learn anything advanced, but mainly rely on medicinal herbs and diet to recuperate their bodies. Until the age of 12 or 13 that he began to get in touch with martial arts. Because at this time, the development of the body has reached a critical point. For example, secondary sexual characteristics, and for example, changing kiba to stop, etc. The aborigines of the Hokage world benefit from the rich energy of heaven and earth, and their bodies develop rapidly. But no matter how fast it is, it still needs to be around 5 years old, to reach the original development level of 12-13 years old in China. Then, let Hyuga Neji get in touch with some of his master's advanced things, let him lay the foundation first. Long as the foundation is sufficient, his achievements will be high and stable in the future. Running, as well as a series of his own courses in the future, all serve this point. 1 year. There's still 1 year left before Hyuga Neji goes to school, but it's enough to lay a solid foundation for him. Gong Yi smiled, paid a little attention to Hyuga Neji's running situation, and didn't care. This thing. Let Gong Ling pay attention. He entered the house by himself. By the Hyuga family was placed on the table. After making sure that Gong Yi was not on the battlefield, Kumogakure started the battle again. The Ino-Shikacho troops blocked Dodai, the Darui troops, and the two sides were locked in a fierce battle. There seems to be no Gong Yi, this war, and nothing wrong. Gong Yi looked calm after reading the information. The strength of Kumogakure village can be said to be the strongest in the ninja world now, and it is stronger than the severely damaged Iwagakure village and Konoha, whose vitality has not recovered. He couldn't believe that Kumogakure village would continue to be so deadlocked. Just wait. Running, sprinting, swimming 20 laps back and forth in the pool. After a long day of exercising, Gong Yi put his hand over Hyuga Neji's body and used medical ninjutsu to recover from his fatigue. I have to say, if you have a medical ninja to take care of you when you are laying the foundation, the effect will be particularly good. Go back, today's class ends here. Ah. Hyuga Neji's mouth was open, and he was a little worried about gains and losses. Seemed to have learned nothing today. Gong Yi waved. Gong Ling walked out of the dark and took Hyuga Neji outside the house. The master still has some instructions. If he is not there, you also need to maintain this intensity of exercise and cannot stop. Gong Ling recalled Gong Yi's words and added, he will check. Hyuga Neji had no choice but to nod and walk home slowly. When he had dinner at home, Hyuga Hazashi asked about today's study. It didn't involve any unique ninjutsu, just some simple physical exercises. Hyuga Neji said it again without any scruples. After listening, Hyuga Hazashi frowned instead. Gong Yi did this because he didn't want to teach Neji the real thing. Father, should I refine chakra and practice the ninjutsu of my Hyuga clan? Hyuga Neji asked. Hazashi thought for a while, then said solemnly, you are now your teacher's disciple, you have to listen to him when it comes to your practice. What he says, do what you do, don't go against him. And, Hazashi chose to trust Gong Yi. Other words, he was willing to sacrifice his son's future to maintain this hard-won alliance. I have to say that although Hyuga Hazashi has doubts in his heart, once he makes a decision, he will be very decisive. In the following days, even if Hyuga Neji did not go to Gong Yi's place, he urged Neji to complete the exercise task assigned by Gong Yi. Time came to the second half of Konoha 51, and the war between Konoha and Kumogakure finally came to an end. The two sides did not use tens of thousands of ninja armies to fight, and they all restrained. After all, there are other villages around. However, on the local battlefield, Konoha, who is still at a stalemate with Kumogakure, was almost defeated in this small battle after Kumogakure dispatched various strong men. And in the Konoha village, the call for Gong Yi to return to the battlefield is getting louder and louder. Basically, in the Konoha village, on the streets and alleys, there are people discussing the war. It is widely believed that if Gong Yi was on the battlefield, Konoha would never be beaten like this. Faced with these calls, even Sarutobi Hiruzen could not turn a blind eye. After discussing with several elder advisors, he sent someone to the leader of the palace. The person sent is Hitaki Kakashi, who has already gained the trust of Hokage. However, Kakashi didn't even enter Gong Yi's gate, and was stopped by someone. Gong Ling said indifferently, The master is practicing a critical moment of ninjutsu, forbid others to disturb the entry.